Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Monday night's Fools Rush In. Never mind HMS Pistol League, it would appear we've all accidentally got on board HMS Shit Show. Another day, another drama at Swindon Town that, as I put on a post a little while ago, the producers of Dream Team would be proud of our season. It's been a... Well, after the news today, I read from one of our dear friends of the show, if we employ a new manager this week, we'll have had Lindsay Gunning, Morris, and the new person in charge between the Queen passing away and the King's coronation. That, a defeat, and noise at the CG, all to be discussed, along with a special guest this evening. But before all that, and hello to tonight's panel, let's roll the titles.
Take my hand, take my whole life too, but I can't help falling in love with you.
The panel is filling up in the lobby nicely. Actually, before we start anything serious, for anyone who's also keeping an eye on the live Premier League action, we would like to send our best to Seamus Coleman, who has gone off injured tonight, and it looks bad if you haven't seen it. It looks bad, and possibly even a second leg break for the man. So we obviously wish him the very best and hope that he gets the best of news. Let's say hello to tonight's panel, and tonight's subject that we tonight's sort of opening food content question, as people seem to like the food content questions. Could you please describe the reign of Jody Morris as a food, is the question that we're putting out there tonight. Much to the bemusement of the panel, I can see in the lobby, all suddenly thinking about this now. Let's say hello first and foremost to a man who will be equally hoping for the best news for Seamus. Good evening, Rich. How are you?
Yeah, evening, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. You were just saying off camera that you were a bit deflated after the drive home on Saturday. Are you feeling... Well, I'm going to say any better today, but it's a bit carnage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a weird one, and it's obviously a little bit bittersweet for me because obviously I really wanted Jody to do well, but obviously,
we all did.
But it does seem that everything, behind the scenes as well as on the pitch has just been all up in the air. So. It's quite disappointing, but if you look at the way that we've played and if you look at the way that the results have gone. To be honest with you, I'm not surprised we've pulled the trigger and sacked him. So we'll see. But it's quite a depressing day, and I think it's been, well, I think it just finishes on the most depressing season, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, it's one of those ones.
It does indeed. And no pressure on you as the first one on, sir, but can you describe the reign of Morris as a food, please?
Let me think. Oh, probably, and I hate this as well, but I'd say very much a Marmite sandwich.
A Marmite sandwich. That's a great, strong start. I'm just flashing up all the comments. People are raining the comments in nice and early. Before we start anything serious, was the quote, is tonight's show going to be different to norm? No, absolutely not. But I'll be honest, what I did say before we went live, before the link even went out, is in our group chat, I turned around and said, in a selfish way, I'm glad I'm back on hosting duties when something like this breaks, because I wouldn't want to miss it. That's for sure. Liam's there. Evening, Liam. A shit sandwich, but Ben's has sugar on it. His comment. And Toby, basmati rice and tomato sauce. And that seems like the perfect time to welcome in Ben himself.
Liam,
Ben.
Basmati rice and tomatoes.
So Ben, let's start with that one. Toby's saying, and Mike actually tweeted it earlier, Jody Morris's reign can best be described as basmati rice and tomato sauce.
Oh, do you know, if he'd done better, it would be. If we've been in and around the playoffs, it would be. But yeah,
are you kidding me? Oh my God, have you learned nothing, Ben? Jesus Christ!
What?
I just love that reaction more than anything, if I'm honest. Just Rich. Are you kidding me?
No, it tastes really nice. You mix it up proper.
Oh, not this again. Ben, describe Jody Morris's reign as a food, please.
Turkish delight. It looks like it should be nice. It smells like it should be all right. Tastes like shit.
Do you know what? I like that, Ben. That is a great shout. Superb. Jody Morris's reign is like Turkish delight. Evening Garv, who's joined there as well. Here's the latest one in from Jamie. JM's reign has been like a bread toasty. I don't know. I think a toasty's decent, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's.
Or is that just my common?
With no filling. Bread toasted with no filling. So
Hank's going with.
That's what he means.
I would hope so. Hank's going with liver and onions. Where shall we go next? Let's go with the man who, when we put out who is on the panel tonight, replied 100% going to try. Cannot miss this one. Evening, Gary.
I can't remember the mic on. That's it. Yeah, I'm in. Yay.
You are here. How are you, sir?
It's like nothing's happened today, is it? It's been a boring day.
It's just a boring day, and we were going to fill it with a nonsense quiz, weren't we?
Yeah, then you throw this question, a food question at us.
With no preparation time. Just how I like it.
I come up with two.
Go on.
Eton mess and battered sausage.
Oh,
Been
no.
a mess. The season's been a mess, and we always get battered.
Okay, I'll let you have it. Nice.
Like
very good.
I like
very good. We've got the EFL debate joining as well. Good evening. Here we go. Yes, a throwback to an earlier episode. Danny's referring to his reign as the slag at the end of the bread. I do hope Joe is there to see it. And then we've got this one, just simply bubble and squeak, fucking vile. Where shall we go next? Let's welcome in Mark. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Fife. I'm very well, thank you.
If I've been paying attention to your socials correctly, you've spent a little bit of time recently at the circus. I presume you don't mean at the county ground.
No, I actually went to Gifford Circus today. It's our annual trip to see Tweedy the Clown and many circus acts. Absolutely fantastic as always.
Yeah, and then you came home.
I might as well have gone to the county ground today, to be honest. Probably would have been equally as entertaining.
Have you managed in that time in the lobby to think up a food to describe the reign of Jody Morris?
Yeah, I'll give it as a scenario. So you know what it's like when you go out for a night with the boys and you end up in town, it gets to 2:00 in the morning, you've had a skinful of lager and you think the best thing to do is to buy a kebab, and you think you're buying the best quality meal to then take it home, eat half of it, fall asleep with your face in it, wake up in the morning and say, why the fuck did I buy that?
I'm so glad we don't have any sort of young, up-and-coming athletes that we're really trying to set an example for waiting to come on with talk like that, that's for sure.
To be fair, though, it's a pretty good analogy, that one.
It's a very good
I rate that,
analogy.
to be fair. I rate that.
Before we say hello, good evening to our special guest, let's welcome our final panelist of the evening, the man who did a fantastic job hosting on Friday night. Welcome, Craig. You're off hosting duties and you're able to relax a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely relax, mate. Like I say, I don't mind filling in, but that is definitely your full-time role there. And can I also point out that I was already on the panel before the news and everything. I didn't just jump on the bandwagon like everyone else did. After,
you were the first one on this morning when I sent the message out.
I'm just very late at replying. I'm just
Rich basically. Particularly on a bank holiday, Rich gets up late, sees that there's over 100 messages in the group, ignores them, and then just turns up when the link gets sent.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
That's actually very, very accurate today. Well, I tried to sleep in as fast as I can because I was up early the last 2 mornings, bloody coaching. So, yeah.
Paddy's tweeted in at Fools Rush In, good evening all. Not often I'm speechless, but this club is in a league of its own. It's been said all season by many on here that something isn't right at the club. Bang, how right our fan base are. It appears to be a right rudderless mess. Craig, have you come up with an analogy or simply like the rest of us a food to describe the reign of Jody Morris?
Yeah, but I think I'm hard pressed to beat Mark's or Gary's. They were pretty good, to be fair. The only thing I could think of, it's like a 99 ice cream with all the sprinkles and sauces and stuff on. Very nice and everything, but ultimately ends up as a mess. So that's pretty much the best I could come up with. But yeah.
Super. No, I like that. And credit, considering that none of you had any preparation time to come up with this stuff. So I like it a lot. I rate it. Well done. Obviously, the breaking news tonight is that Town have parted company with Jody Morris and her brand. We will, without question, be joining the multitude of coverage there has been on that across all of the STFC-related socials. But before that, we would like to start with something a little bit more positive, if we may. And hence the name of tonight's episode, Saving Grace, as we welcome back for her, what probably must seem like the 100th appearance of Fools this season, because we always seem to be sending out an SOS. Could you come on, please? But we are delighted that she's accepted once again. Welcome back to Fools, Grace. How are you, Grace? You okay?
I'm good. You're right, finally?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Very well. There just seems to be a slight delay, so I'll get to grips with that. But how are you? How's things?
I'm fantastic at the minute. Just preparing for the amazing cup games that shall be. Preparing myself.
I'm certainly looking forward to talking to you about that. But before we do that, there was obviously news from the women's game at the weekend that Emily went off injured. So I'm sure, like the rest of us, you'd be wanting to send a speedy recovery message to her as well, and hope she obviously gets back and gets well soon.
Yeah, I hope she does get better, because I don't know if I can cover for that many more times. It's so tiring, but I saw a picture of her finger, and I really do hope she's okay. It was. I was going to say I was unaware of what the actual injury was. I assume it was something to do with her hand or her wrist. But I believe there was a collision, and she dislocated a ring finger.
Oh.
I saw a picture and it was just hanging down.
Oh. Yeah, that's a shocker, that.
I hope no one is tucking into any of those foods we were describing earlier, that's for sure. But I appreciate the detail you've gone to there. But no, again, we obviously wish Emily a very speedy recovery from that. And
she's been to A&E. It's been popped back into place. I'm pretty sure she's okay for now.
Nice.
I hope she's got painkillers.
Well, let's hope so. Kieran's in the chat and gone straight in on some of the panelists. Craig and Mark could be twins, he says.
We are.
In fact,
I'll take that. I've been compared to worse, so yeah, I'll take that all day long. Yeah.
I've been compared to better, but you know.
And Liam says you bought the kebab and then spent 150k on the sauce and salad 2 months later. There you go.
Was it a German doner kebab though? That's the question. It probably wasn't because it was Morris.
No,
certainly wasn't. Grace, let's get into it. And you mentioned it as you said hello there. Next, not this coming weekend, but next weekend, we've got you on nice and early so that we didn't interrupt preparations too much. But next weekend is the League Cup final.
Oh yeah, against Cumnock. I am raring for that game. I love playing against Cumnock because it's always such a tight game, and it's usually comes down to like the last 5 minutes or like a penalty or something like that.
So I've done a little bit of research. You both finished fairly close to each other in the league. I think it was first and third. And credit to them. Let's say credit to them to begin with. They've had an unbeaten season, unbeaten league season at least. And it was a tight game back in November as well with a few goals. It was a 3-2 defeat for Swindon that day, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. I don't want to talk about that game because it should have been 2-2.
Should have been 2-2. I love it. You're so it's so clear when you're talking about how you feel about certain things. I love like should have been 2-2. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I was raging after that game. I was like, the ball was in my hands. I had a grasp on it, and the ref clearly didn't see anything. He was stood 10 meters away from me. I don't know how he did not see it. I got up and I screamed at him.
No, you've not screamed at someone. We've never heard you do this before.
I know, it's a rare thing. It's a rare thing.
You're so quiet, shy, and retiring normally, as we keep getting told.
This side doesn't come out that often.
So how are you feeling ahead of the final? I know you said you're excited, but all the preparation leading up to it, and now you're confident and feeling ready?
I'm feeling confident, but I'm also nervous because I know the girls on my team are so excited for that, and I know we want it so bad. And I think it's going to be such a good game, but to where I think we're all just going to pass out at the end if it doesn't go to penalties.
And is this, forgive me, is this the last one of your seasons? What, the last game for you this season as well?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically all in now. It's the final.
Yeah.
Final effort for you all. So talk us through what sort of game are you expecting? I've got all the details of the game ticking along the bottom. So if anyone is able to go and support the girls, obviously we would absolutely encourage it to have as many there supporting you as possible. But what sort of games do you think people that are able to attend should expect?
I think everyone should come. It'd be such a good game. I think last time we played them, I believe that it was so tight. We were on top, but I feel like they were maybe not having their best day. So I feel like I know that they are a very physical team, but we will give that back. I know we will. Oh, I just want to win so much.
You can see what. No, carry on. Sorry.
No, I'm good. Go for it.
What would it mean? What would it mean to you to win? Like we could see how much you want to win it already, but what would it mean to you to win it?
Every game is like a cup final for me. I love football. Winning's not everything, but I love playing good, and winning just makes it so much better. And this would mean so much to me because I know the girls deserve it, and I think we're such a good team, and we let ourselves down a little bit in the league, but I think we could bring it back. I think we so could.
I think it shows the standards that you expect when you say things like you've let yourself down a little bit in the league. I had a look, and there was only 4 games that you didn't win, 2 draws and 2 defeats, I believe it was. That's not exactly devastating form. I mean, if you want to see devastating form, let me show you the men's senior team. And and then tell me what you've done is bad.
Well, I know that in those defeats and draws, I know one of those draws was against Cumnor. We played our hardest. I'm not mad about that at all. I think some of our games that we did lose, we should not have lost at all. But everyone has their off days, and that's fine. But I reckon next season will work so much harder, and we'll want it so much more.
And you mentioned a minute or so ago that everyone within the team's really excited and stuff for it. But generally, how is the mood amongst everyone? Is it just is it about keeping everyone calm? Is everyone feeling confident? Can you see there's a few nerves coming in?
Yeah.
Or
There's even nerves amongst myself. Seem all that confident. Show it. Fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it.
Absolutely.
I think it's only
I think
natural though
everyone's
to
just
have.
trying to keep calm at the minute, and then when we get on that.
I think it's only natural to have nerves for anyone in the cup final, let alone someone as young as yourself playing in this. I assume this must be like the biggest game of your career, is it, Grace?
Yeah, it's definitely a big game. I think I even get nervous when I was playing for the Devs yesterday. I mean, it's a good thing to keep your nerves calm, especially on a game like this, because then you need to be focused and you need to be on top and you need to be ready for what's coming.
Yeah. Do you can I ask? Have you practiced penalties this week, and how do you feel generally about the prospect of maybe facing like a penalty shootout?
We should be practicing them on Wednesday. I should hope so,
Right.
but I know what I'm going for in penalties. Should it come to that, I would hope not, but if it does, I know what I'm doing.
She had one in the game yesterday. To be
Yeah.
fair, didn't you?
Have you been able to like study the potential penalty takers at all? Is there any way you've been able to find out what?
And yeah, I've actually guest played for Cumnor before in a tournament. So I know those girls, so I know if they're like right-footed or left-footed. And usually, if someone's right-footed or left-footed for a keeper, you just go a certain way for a certain person who has a certain preferred foot.
Yeah. Let's hope obviously it doesn't come to that, but obviously you've done your homework, which is any good goalkeeper would do that in your position. So yeah, fair play to you. And like I said, hopefully it doesn't come to that, because nobody wants a penalty shootout, do they?
Mum doesn't.
No.
Actually, do you know what? Let's ask that. If you don't mind, Michelle, sort of from your perspective, how are you feeling about this? Because like Grace, obviously, she'll have her own pressures and stuff. She'll have her own way of dealing with it, but she can sort of directly affect what happens. You're obviously on the side watching. So how are you feeling at this point?
Not just watching.
I'm like projecting onto the no. We had it in the semi-final. It went to pens, and Grace saved the final, like the fifth penalty. It's heart-wrenching to watch. Normally, I've got like my son with me, and I will literally turn around because I just feel sick for her. Not because I don't think she can do it, because I've got every faith. She stopped the penalty. Well, yesterday, you saved the penalty, but the rebound went in. But
it bobbled over my hand. I'm still not over that. It bobbled over
You do surprise us.
She's not quite about stage. She's not listening to Adele, but yeah, she is a bit miffed about it. But it's heart-wrenching to watch, because it just with penalties, it's all a little bit in the wind. I mean, you can practice them, but you're just the best penalty taker in the world can mess it up on the day. Like, so it just, I don't know. She does the whole, I don't know if she'd get away with it now, because obviously trying to change the rules, but last time she did the whole Martinez routine.
In the box
she
first,
was out the
get
ball,
the ball,
staring them out. She was coming right up to them.
Do you know what? So if I remember rightly, I think it was the last time you were on, Grace, and if you'll excuse the phrasing slightly, I think it was possibly me and Woody turned around, or possibly even Craig. I said, after hearing the way you spoke about it, I said, I can imagine you being a little shithouse when it comes to that sort of thing.
My brother calls me that. He calls me a brick shithouse.
But you, if I remember rightly, because when we mentioned it, you said you love the sort of psychological warfare of it as well.
I do. I have my own little routine, but I make sure not to say anything, because then you just look like a dick.
Yeah, of course.
If it does go in, they're just going to be like all in your face giving it back, and I don't particularly want that. I don't particularly want to talk to them if it goes in.
100%. Well, as we're on the subject of yeah, sorry, yeah, I interrupted there. The staring is always the one that interests me when any goalkeeper's just trying to stare someone out
into their soul.
Are there any other, without giving away your method, are there any other antics that you've seen, whether it's professional goalkeepers do or anything that you've like, if you haven't done it, like I'd do that. I'd be happy to do that.
Definitely tapping, definitely standing on the spot and wait for them to come to me.
You go get the ball.
Nice. Intimidating.
Yeah, I go get the teammates as well.
No, it's certainly interesting. As we've brought up the subject of penalties, there is something I've always wanted to ask someone in that situation, and it's a lot of people have their own theory about it. I've always said that the pressure really is on the attacker to score it. You know, it's not that you don't expect a goalkeeper to save it, but it's the pressure's more on the person taking the penalty than the person trying to stop it. Do you believe that, or do you? I get the feeling you're going to say no. The pressure's on me to save it. It doesn't go in.
No, I think the pressure is more on the strikers because it's more likely than not that it is going to go in because the odds are against you, but you just got to do all you can to save it, really. I always say to my players, though, when they're taking a penalty, place it, not power at all. However, if I end up taking a penalty, I'll probably just blast it.
To be fair, she did the cup. She did when Emily was injured before Christmas. She did the semi-final for the first team, and that went to pens. And we ended up losing.
Yeah.
And well, you weren't like you did.
Was that against Warminster, wasn't it?
Yeah, we should have won the game, but I didn't think we were great. Pitch was awful, but we weren't great either. But like there was not a lot we could do by the time it got to penalties. Grace did her absolute best, and you're all right with that.
Yeah.
Whereas you are normally quite harsh on yourself. You weren't bad that day. You were like, I did everything I could.
Yeah, I know if I play good and I'm happy with myself, then I'll be okay after. But if I know that I haven't put all my all in, I'll be upset with myself either way.
Rich, let me come to you as someone who coaches obviously even younger kids. When you hear, and we say this a lot when Grace comes on, but when you hear someone who is still as young as Grace is, but speaks with such a clarity and a conviction, you can hear, you can feel the passion, what she says, you can feel the self-criticisms, but there's the confidence and the belief there as well. It's without putting too much on, if you like, it's a good role model for even younger kids learning the game to sort of cut to, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely, for sure. Whenever you get somebody of Grace's age speaking the way that she does, it's obviously it just, you know, everyone would be elated to hear as to especially the career that she's had already at such a young age. Because I had my older sister and she was only 16 when she came on board with us. And the way that she spoke to the players and everything like that, the way that they looked up to her was absolutely incredible. And it's brilliant because not only is it from an age thing, but obviously with the women's game as well becoming as big as it is now, and to be able to see not only just male role models, but obviously female role models coming through the game, because the youth is still very dominated by boys. However, we are getting there now with girls, and more girls are starting to come in and obviously play the game. But obviously, in terms of from a boy's perspective, but to obviously get a girl's perspective to come in and obviously give that to a team is it is quite inspiring, and it is actually, you know, so many different ways that the game is going, and it's fantastic to see just male and female role models these days. It's brilliant to see. Looking past the weekend, if we can, Grace, or even not even looking past, kind of looking back.
we spoke, I think it was the first time you came on, about your hopes, your ambitions, your drive, which needless to say there's plenty of. How do you look back over this season, both yourself, because you've represented all three of Swindon's teams this year? You know, how do you look back on the season as it's been?
I think it's been such a good season for the 18s, especially because we are such a new team, and I think we've done so well to build up so quickly and to get first place in the third place.
I love that you stole that from there.
I think we've done so well, and I want to say thank you to the devs and the first team, because they've helped me so much. And I know that when I was with them, I was definitely way more nervous, so they helped me get over that. And now obviously I played and I was absolutely fine, and I think that's helped me so much with my confidence.
And are there any, I mean, obviously the cup final is likely to feature on that list even before it's played, but is there any particular highlights for you personally over the season?
Personally, it would be the semi-final against Chesterton, where it was, I believe, 1-1 in game.
Yeah,
in game, and then it went to pens, and then saving that last penalty and seeing the girls rush over after we won. It was such a good moment for me. I was like so proud, and I was like, oh, made me all warm and gooey inside.
And how do you feel about? I mean, we can see and we can hear how much pride you take, particularly in the 18 squad. You know, from a team perspective, again, the cup final and the semi-final aside, is there any highlights, or you know, is there a game or a moment in a game where you think that's going to be something you remember from this season?
To be honest, all the games, the girls are such a laugh, but they take it so seriously at the same time. But it's if I could pick a moment, it'd be definitely the same one.
I've got several. I've got a couple. Like when
go on, jump in. You tell us.
I can jump in because she's like, she just loves the whole. She's just had an amazing season. But mine's like little ones. Like I remember that first time you played a friendly for the women's team before the season started, and you were so nervous.
Yeah, against
like literally
the army.
She was shaking. And then, I don't know, I just remember being sad at the start of the season saying, oh, we think you've got great potential, hopefully in the next couple of years. And then, obviously, we'd never want anybody to go out injured, but like within a few months, both keepers were injured on the other teams, and Grace was having to step up, and silly little things like, I know you were only warming up with the first team the other week at the county ground, just seeing you out on the county, like, for me, I was like, oh.
That was definitely a good moment as well.
And her brother plays football, and he'd love to take it as far as he can. But he just said, like, do you know what? If I'm not going to make it, just watching her, like, he said he's so proud of her. He said, like, it's just, I don't know, it's just become such a family thing. Yeah. And I don't know, just like a huge family. They can't believe how supportive, like, all three teams and coaches have been. It's just been so amazing this last year.
Actually, can I ask you about that, Grace? Because, I mean, you've obviously mentioned a few times in every appearance you've made. How much does, in terms of where you've got to date, where you aim to get to, and you know, the character of person you are, how much is that very, as is evident to us, you know, clear, close family unit you've got played a part in that?
It played such a big part because my brother, I used to ban him from my games because he made me nervous when I played, because I always wanted to impress him because he's like the big brother. I've kind of followed football as well. So I was like, you can't come, you're making me nervous, go away. But now to watch me play in the cup final, it's just amazing. I love him so much. And I know my dad can't be there, but again, same thing. I don't like him at my games either because he makes me nervous.
And once the sorry, it just broke up a second there. What? Sorry, could you just repeat that one? It broke up.
I said she's not worried about me, that she's so used to me being there. If she can't hear me yelling in the background, then it's not normal, is it?
Thing is, it would almost be a distraction if you weren't there, because it would feel like something was missing.
Exactly. It'd be a big thing missing. If you couldn't hear her, you'd wonder what's going on.
And so we looked back, but if I could ask you then, what's your plans for the close season? You know, what's your summer plans almost? Are you able to switch off completely, or are you looking to fill a void with more football somewhere else over the summer?
Yeah, I'm actually guesting for Milton Ladies in a tournament quite soon.
Okay.
Because if I don't play, I will just switch off, and I feel like my quality deteriorates over that time, and it takes me a while to get it back. So I just want to keep it with football. I want to make sure I'm staying on top of my fitness and everything else, because I want to make sure I'm fit, even fitter for next season, because I know that I could improve.
Yeah, don't worry. That's a very common sight, is seeing a cat forcibly removed from the screen. Grace, as always, it's an absolute pleasure to get to talk to you. Everyone at Falls Rush Inn wants to wish you and the whole team the very, very best of luck in the cup final. We will be keeping tabs, and anyone who doesn't obviously have another way of finding out, as soon as we've got information of how the game's going or how the result ends up, we will be sharing it on all our socials. But again, I can't say it enough, but thank you for every time you've come on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we'll see even more of you next season.
Fifey, can I just say a quick thank you as well?
Thank you so much for having me on. You guys are a great laugh.
I was just going to thank somebody as well, because Dave, the goalkeeping coach at Swindon Town, he has developed so many great keepers. Obviously, you see Emily come through at the moment. Obviously, Grace, another keeper as well. And in fact, actually, he's my my keeper for my team. He's his goalkeeper coach as well. So, and you can just see the difference that these players, these upcoming players, are doing at the moment. So I think Dave deserves a massive shout out, and the job that he's doing for Swindon and around Wiltshire as well, I think is just absolutely fantastic. So just a big shout out to Dave there.
If possible, Grace has got a few thank yous she'd quickly like to shout out. If that's
do you know what, Grace?
Sorry, I thought she'd already said a thank you. Sorry.
Grace, I will put you on full screen layout to give as many shout outs as you like.
I just want to say thank you to obviously you guys for having me on so many times. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you to the committee for helping us with the team coach for the cup game. It's such a good team bonding thing to have. Thanks to Keith, Ellie, and Jordan for being our coaches, for their support and guidance throughout the season. Thanks to Dave, the fans, and everyone at the club. Just thank you so much for your support.
That is really, really nice way to end that. Grace and Michelle, thank you very, very much indeed for and as I said, hopefully you'll be willing to join us again for many more appearances next season as we continue to enjoy the adventure that will be your career, that we can all just see taking flight and soaring for many, many years to come.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Good luck in the final.
Good luck, Grace.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye,
summer.
guys.
Always an absolute pleasure when Grace and Michelle, because it's always great having both of them join us. Always great fun, always positive. And particularly when we're about to have an episode like we're going to have the first half an hour or so with such a positive and enthusiastic and passionate guest is a big thing for us.
Fifey, can I just say, like the goalkeeper position is, as everyone knows, is a very specialist position, and you need to have a certain type of mentality to do that. And quite clearly, Grace has got that
100%.
in by the bucket for, and it looks like she's got a very promising future in.
It's a
in
very
women's
isolating
football.
position. It's because
Yeah.
you're literally on your own. So
Yeah.
it does take mega mentality and physicality to do that role. So fair play to Grace, and she's obviously got great coaches around her as well. So that installs that in her. So fair play.
Well, not that I don't have belief in you guys, but losing Grace for the rest of the episode is a big personality void within the panel for tonight. So there was only one man that could possibly be subbed in for the rest of the episode for her, as we welcome Nick. Evening, sir.
Bloody hell, Fifey, steady on. That is always a very difficult young lady to follow. She is so good, positive, and fair play to her. So I just needed to take a break. The old breathing ain't too good at the moment, so just needed 10 minutes out.
Absolutely. Well, you take as many breaks as you need, sir, because I have a feeling that the rest of the episode is going to knock the wind out of a few sails. Shall we start, as we say, all aboard HMS Shit Show? The breaking news tonight, as we said, is the departure of Jody Morris and his assistant, of course, from the county ground after what seems about an hour in charge. It's been a long couple of months between us, particularly myself and Ben. We have argued, we've debated, we've discussed, and ultimately something that neither of us actually saw happened. There will be a lot of opinion on this, I'm sure, including this comment, which I purposely waited because I didn't want to really disrespect Grace by showing up and her thinking that it's got anything to do with the women's team at all. But we've had comments flying in along the lines of change the match day walkout song to Benny Hill. So we've got lots of these. Paddy, for anyone who hasn't seen it, has put a tweet out, and I'm just scrolling back through to find it. At Fools Rush In, I think as many fans as possible should go full on fancy dress for the last home game, dressed as clowns in homage to those running the club. And then there is a GIF alongside that of two very creepy looking clowns, which I know clowns is something that a few people have phobias of. So I'm sure it would be torture for many a supporter. Sorry. Is it true Nick is a bit out of breath due to taking training at SDFC today?
Oh, dear.
That would be scraping the barrel, geez.
Garv says, the man, the myth, the legend, evening Nick.
Yeah, cheers, Garv.
Right, let's get in on this then. Let's start with let's just start with I'll go round straw poll. I think the easiest place to start. Instant reaction, one word, emotion, feeling, however you want to describe it. Rich, what was your first thought?
My first word was wow. I just couldn't actually believe it, to be quite honest with you, because it was one of those ones where it was like, because he's obviously only been in a few months, like obviously results haven't quite gone his way, but you're still thinking, oh, hang on a minute, are they still going to give him a chance at the start of the season? But to me, it seemed as if that he has lost the dressing room, which obviously isn't obviously great. So, and it was a bit of a shock to me as well. It was something, because usually you hear rumors all day long, like apparently Morris might be going, he might be going. I didn't hear none of that. There was none of that today. There was no rumors. There was no nothing on Twitter or anything like that. We just got a message, I believe was at 5 o'clock this afternoon, which is ironic, to say that he'd parted company. So yeah, it was a strange one, and that was literally my first reaction was whoa, because I just was not expecting it.
I've had a comment which you guys will be able to see, but I'm going to hold off and I'm purposely going to leave it. It says start with Ben, but I want to end with Ben for exactly the reason that the comment says. So Gary, your first instant reaction when you saw the news?
Just like Rich, I was shocked and amazed because, like you said, there's nothing come out of the club or any rumours, mills, or anyone saying he's going to go. I was sat there, I saw the message pop. I went, "No way, are you kidding me?" Because I just didn't see it. You know, like we said, the results haven't been great. You can see potentially why, but there was no sign of it coming out of the club that this is going to be happening. So, yeah, it totally threw me. Totally.
Nick?
I actually had a phone call from my son because, as I said, my phone had been on charge, so it wasn't near me, and said, "Is that right? That Morris has been sacked?" And it was like, really? Seriously? But if you think about it, he's been very critical of the people upstairs, as he calls them. Any manager that does that is putting himself in danger, or maybe deliberately. So on that basis, it's not a great surprise. And it seems like it was a back me or sack me. So that's where I think it was. And whether it's money, not getting players in, not having the budget, whatever it is. And I think that was Morris saying to him, either we do it my way or we'll part company. And obviously they're parting company.
No, absolutely. Craig, your instant reaction when you saw the news?
Yeah, I was shocked as well. To be honest, I think the situation is farcical. I mean, I was more surprised because can we afford to sack him? You know, we apparently broke the bank to sign him in the first place. The Ed Brand sign-in dragged on and on and on, and then like 6 weeks later, there's the same amount of time it took to appoint Ed Brand. We're getting rid of him, and it just. I said to you guys in the WhatsApp group leading up, before this had even happened, I wasn't too sure what I thought, whether the club should stick or twist with Morris. Do we keep him and, give him a chance at pre-season and his own sort of squad and everything? And quite a few fans were in that ballpark. But you look at the results and everything and the performances, and as Nick said, his press conferences, managers have been sacked for a lot less. So that wouldn't have surprised me either. And, I said similar to what Nick was saying about the press conferences, Jody Morris has been lobbing out these hand grenades, he did it with the travelling situation up to Crewe. There was no need for him to put it out there. He just came out with that off of his own back. So he has kind of undermined the regime by, saying stuff, and making catty comments about the budget and, as Nick said, the people upstairs. So I guess it was, it's not so much of a surprise, but I just trying to wonder, how have we afforded this and how much money have we spaffed up the war with this recruitment? Because, the rumours are going around that the playing budget's going to be cut by a certain amount next season. Well, if that's the case, I'm not going to, no matter who we get in to replace him, I'm not confident that we'll be anywhere near a promotion challenge next season. So yeah, it's a very, very strange situation. But I think I just want to support a boring club, to be honest. I'm sick and tired of the dramas all the time. It just. When I mean boring, I don't mean boring to watch the football team.
We've done that this season.
Yeah, just have a normal season where. Something happens or something doesn't, but just no fucking drama. And it just when people say about the Swindon way, this is the Swindon way. This situation, it just keeps on happening. Literally. It's happened since I started supporting the kid. Since I started supporting the team, under Lou Macari when he got sacked before and then reinstated. Even back then in the mid 80s, and then it's just a continuous theme of fucking us shooting ourselves in the foot. And I mean, whether the club's made the right decision or not, I don't know. Like I said at the start, they needed to stick or twist. They've decided, they've decided to twist, and I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens, whether that's going to be the right decision or not. But I think it's very much in the air, and I think we're going to be in League Two for many seasons to come now.
Mark, your gut reaction?
Well, I think the question was I surprised at the news? I think after the basket case of a season that we've had, it didn't come as a surprise at all. In fact, my first thought was positive, not because somebody'd lost their job, but more on the lines of, if you're going to make a change, now's the time to do it, providing you've got your ducks in a row and you're ready to move on. I think I can echo what everybody else has said in terms of the comments and hand grenades that Jody's been throwing in his press conferences and post-match interviews over the last few weeks. Have kind of indicated that he either wants to be sacked or is putting himself in an untenable position, that the board had to act, because a lot of talk about not knowing about budgets or wanting more experience, and all of these things kind of go against the philosophy that's even outlined in Bobby Angus's report about nurturing young talent for resale, which that mantra hasn't changed. It's just a question of the quality that we get in the age groups that we're looking for, really. So we might have to speculate a bit more to accumulate more income, rather than scratching around in the bargain basement bin hoping to unearth a gem, because as it's proven this season, it's not really the right way to go. So it's a shame, And I was quite pleased when Morris and Brands were brought in. I kind of thought that they might offer something new, and would have been good to have given them a transfer window. But to be honest, if you look at the results, and again we are in a results industry, 4 wins in 18 matches, and not really seeing any tangible improvement from any of the talent that we've supposed to be nurturing, is more of a concern. In fact, several of those players you could argue have gone backwards. And you look at situations like Harrison Minton not getting a look in when we were crying out for sticking in a centre back, the right position, the right player for the right position, and playing left backs as centre backs, and all this kind of weird and obscure tactics. And I think the final straw for me, the Crewe game, I was absolutely livid, not because it was a spectacle, but I genuinely thought that we could have held out for those. Those 3 points, if well, certainly at least a point. I know the substitutions were made in the 81st minute with Charlie and Kadji coming on, but that, I don't know what we were trying to achieve by doing that. If you were looking to shore up the 1-0, then you should have just filled the defence with players, block the midfield, don't look to go forward, everyone in a low block, boot and clear the ball out, keep it dirty, just make sure that you hold on to those 3 points. But there was none of that. There was no intent to win the game. There was no intent to change the style. And that's been the case since day one. So am I surprised? No, not really. Everything else now is what happens next.
Just to reassure everyone in the comments, I'm seeing everything come in, but you're all kind of picking up on bits that I've noted to ask in this section. So I'm not flashing everything up until we talk specifically about that bit. Don't worry, all of your comments are being seen and will be filtered through. Starting with these. Ben, I made you wait specifically because of this one, where it said, start with Ben, because if he can't spin it, we're even more fucked than we think. That was then followed by Liam saying, Lindsay better than Morris, ahem, apology accepted, Ben. So, spin it for us, Ben. Everything's going to be fine.
No, I'm not going to spin a thing. I'm not going to tell her how it is. I actually do think a little bit opposite to what Craig said. I think if we've sacked him, then maybe we have got a little bit more money than he thinks, because we obviously think we can afford to sack him and hire another manager and have a budget for next season. Because if we didn't, we would still be in a job. To me, I am shocked. I'm shocked it's come now and not within a month or two next season. They clearly fundamental change needed to happen to have a better season next season. It had to. We couldn't just Miranda doing exactly the same thing, because we will get relegated. It's simple as that. So they've I think that they're doing just that. I think they're making fundamental change. So this is the big reset, I think, a little bit. I think they're going to do things differently. I think the team hadn't been performing under Morris. I think at the beginning of his time at Swindon, he did kind of have an excuse with the injuries and what's been going on and whatnot. But that did clear up, and then he did have quite a long spell with everyone fit, and we didn't improve at all. Obviously, we're paying Charlie Austin a lot of money, and he's not been getting games. He's publicly spoken against players. He has been quite dour in press conferences, and he's not been towing the company line really at all when it comes to that. The football has not really been enthralling to watch. I think the XG is 1 shot per game or 1 goal scoring opportunity per game, so that's not improved despite all the attacking talent we've got. So they've weighed it up and they've probably thought, if we're going to sack someone, do it now rather than wait till next season, which I said in the last pod, either sack him or back him. But if they're going to sack him, do it immediately. So we've got time to get someone in way before pre-season actually starts, because we've still not had a proper pre-season where the manager's planned a pre-season since 2019 when Richie took us up. So they need to act quickly. They can't fart about till July hiring someone. We need someone in by mid-May. At least.
The thing is, Ben, we've all been talking the last couple of pods about trying to get some players in now. Obviously, the players that are just going out of contract and all that kind of stuff, and the fact that obviously the club have obviously decided to sack Morris now instead of obviously getting the players that he could potentially get in and all the free agents. Like you said just there, it's like we haven't had a normal pre-season since obviously 2021 season when we got promoted to League One. But obviously, everything came with a shower of shit after that. So, but yeah, it's. I'm in agreement with Craig. Why can't we just be fucking normal?
We can't. It's as you say. Unfortunately, it seems to be the Swindon way. We've always been a bit strange.
Yeah,
I'm going to spin yours a little bit there if I can, Rich, just for our own benefit. The reason we don't want to be normal, we've praised the fact that Swindon Town have a fantastic network of fan-made content, whether it's OSC, Low Strangers, TSTBL, the Old Duffers, ourselves, anyone like that. The reason we have so many outlets is because there is so much fucking mess to go through. It takes about 150 people a week to do it justice.
I wonder if it's more mess than Clem had to go through when he was clearing up all the debts that fucking Lee Power left.
Well, there are 6 fundamental parts to this that I'd like to go through. I've assigned each one of you a topic, but obviously you're all more than welcome to jump in on each one as we go through them. What I'd like to start with, Rich, if I can with you. Lauren as well. Very good one. There's also, I don't know his actual name, but it's Junior Autism. There's another one as well.
Yeah.
So much great content. And that there's a reason we need it all. Because the phrase that my older brother has never forgiven me for using, but I then have attributed it to Swindon Town instead of a London-based Premier League club. We are an absolute banter club. And
you're the Chelsea of the Premier League without the money.
We are literally the Chelsea of the Premier League.
Without the money.
Because that's what's made my season even more fucking depressing this season. So we're not even fucking talking about that on this pod. Please don't. Because otherwise I might as well just curl up in a ball somewhere and just never come out. Yeah.
That's all right. Just for what it's worth, my reaction was to laugh when I saw it. And I actually sent a message to someone who I said, I want to bring up the actual words I used to give it justice. I said, it's certainly entertaining at the moment. As a fan, I'm somewhere between respect to the club for taking action and HMS shit show. The timing is very, very odd in my opinion, but ultimately a good decision. And I don't mean this to sound as disrespectful as it probably does, but the only thing that was more boring than his team's performances on the pitch was his pre and post match interviews.
They were so boring as well. I stopped listening to them because a lot of the time I actually quite like listening to them. I mean, Gav Gunnings, the amount that he did, he was very slow, but he was very brutal, and he was very he was actually quite funny in his press conferences as well. Somebody like Richie Wellens, even I listened to his a few of them on Twitter where he's at Leyton Orient,
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just so interesting. Like like you had some expression in your voice, whereas Jody Morris just didn't have that at all. It was boring. It was boring.
Okay,
Nice
gentlemen.
guy, but boring.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. I mean, we spent a short amount of time with him at the day we sponsored the game, and he was polite and pleasant to talk to, but ultimately that doesn't mean he's going to be a successful coach.
Yeah, he had a bit of banter as well, but that was it.
So, Rich, let's start with the topic I'm going to give you, and it links into a couple of comments that I'm going to flash up now, and it's the subject of: do we think he was sacked, or did he walk? Now, I'm going to read the club's official statement to you, and then give me your assessment of it, Rich, okay? So it says, Swindon Town can today confirm it has parted company with first-team head coach Jody Morris and his assistant Ed Brand. Morris, 44, was appointed at the end of January in what was his first senior management role in the game, and was later followed to the county ground by his assistant Ed Brand in early March. We would like to thank both Jody and Ed for their contribution and effort since joining the football club and wish them all the very best in the future. Our aim when they took over was to push on and finish the second half of the season strongly, but as a club, we haven't achieved our objectives. With just one more league game remaining before we reach the conclusion of the season, we feel now is the right time to take a fresh approach, and we look forward to bringing success back to this great club for 23-24. Work is well underway to find our next manager, with an announcement in due course. Steve Mildenhall and Gav Gunning will take charge against Crawley.
Well, I bloody hope that they've started, because knowing them, it takes them bloody 2 months to fucking appoint something. So glad they're not waiting until the last game of the season, after the last game of the season. Do you know what? You could take your pick on that, to be fair. But I think you could also, obviously, Ben's mentioned it quite a few times, obviously, the things that he spoke about in his presser. It's obvious that there was few things in the background that he wasn't too impressed about. So really, you could fight for it either way. I don't think the statement really gives any sort of indicators as to what has actually happened, whether or not that is that he has walked or he has been sacked. Like Craig makes a good point as well. Could we afford to sack him? And if so, where is the money to actually pay him off? Ed Brand, I don't think is too much of a big deal, because according to when the statement first came out, he was on secondment from Chelsea. So I don't think that's going to be a massive big deal. I think he'll just go back to Chelsea.
I'm pretty sure
we signed him properly.
Did we actually properly sign him?
Yeah, we signed him on like a 2.5 year deal.
Yeah.
He's our player.
Oh, really?
He's our assistant.
Yeah.
Well, I think whatever Morris did, Ed Brand was going to follow suit either way. So, and I wouldn't have thought that we would have sacked both of them at the same time. I think we probably would have sacked probably Jody and then given it to Brand to the end of the season or something like that. That's what we tend to generally do. But they sort of came in like as in like a work team, like a joint manager sort of thing. So I just don't know. I think potentially they have probably walked, and I think it's more around the things that have probably happened in the dressing room. I think with some of the players, some of the big personalities there as well, because we know one particular one that probably did get his way and probably said a few things that probably rubbed Jody Morris the wrong way. So. Who knows? It's possible.
There's no point being, we're not known for being coy, Rich. Let's call it out. You're obviously referring to Charlie Austin there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course. And I think we've seen some of the scenes that he did when he was at Brisbane and everything like that. Hence the reason that he walked from there, or whatever reason it was that he did. I mean, we won't beat around the bush. Obviously, it wasn't really working out there. He came to us. It was probably the easy option for him at the time. I don't think Austin's been terrible. I think he's played some good games, but then he's had some really, really shit games as well. So is he worth the money that we're probably paying him to be at the club right now? Probably not. But do I think we should keep him? Yeah, absolutely. Because I think it's obvious that he wasn't playing for the manager, and I think there was a lot of players in there that probably weren't playing for the manager at the time. And I think they were more influenced by the bigger personalities that were in that dressing room, hence Charlie Austin.
On that one specifically,
yeah,
if it's okay, I'd just like to put a pin in that, because we're going to ring round and come back to that specific point.
Oh, okay.
In the next
Can I go back to the statement?
Yep.
Because you look at that statement, the way it's worded, it's deliberately ambiguous. Because normally,
you do surprise me in this era of clear and open communication. The club are being distinctly ambiguous.
Well, you're kind of stepping on my point there, but yeah. Well, it's normally one of three things, isn't it? Either the manager gets sacked, they walk, or it's by mutual consent. Not one of those things are in that statement, and you've got to ask why. That's very, very strange. Does it? Is it because I don't believe for an instant that there's this contract clause that he fails to get the playoff. If he fails to get in the playoffs, because that's for somebody who we wanted so much to put that clause in. I'd be very surprised if Morris took that up. But why would they be so ambiguous about whether they've sacked him or whether he's walked away? I don't really understand that, and it's more smoke and mirrors from the club. Why not just say it? Just say you've sacked him. Or just say he's walked away, or we've done it mutually, because all it does is just bring up all this speculation as to the reason why he's walked and everything.
The reason is because they wanted us to have an entertaining episode where we can all start making up our own narratives.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I feel there's been an argument. There's been a coming together somewhere. I think at the board level, whether it was Clem or Rabangas, they've had a sit down somewhere and they've just not seen eye to eye, and one or the other have just gone, do you know what? This isn't working. You're off.
I think it's more Sandro and Jody.
Possibly.
Because he probably has gone through with Jody about potential signings for next season. They probably have. Probably because it had taken 4 months to actually sign them. But more of the point that I think if Jody will have disagreements with players, absolutely, because there's no way that those two are going to align on the players that they're bringing in. Obviously, Sandro's gone for Premier League players in their youth academies that have been released and gone on a free, whereas Jody Morris is probably thinking, right, okay, I'm going to try and get some good bloody experience in the squad now, and try and build a team around someone. So I think he has put up with a load of shower of shit in terms of some of the squad, but also I still don't think this is the worst team that we've seen in recent seasons. But is that down to the manager? Is that down to the recruitment?
Sheridan's team wipes the floor with this team, by the way.
Yeah.
That's terrible. That's damn.
Yeah, that's really bad to say that as well.
Even that team in League One was poor.
It's very poor.
Brett Pittman would be licking his lips against this defence.
Fifey, sorry. With the statement, I think it's all tied up with whatever the wording of his contract was, and it's all about the legal aspects of compensation and money. So I think they deliberately left it vague, because if they start saying we've done X, Y, Z, and that's not all tied up in legalese within a contract, then you open yourself up for people suing you for money's unfair dismissal and all sorts of things. So I think it's all to do with how the contract was written, what the clauses are in it, and both Morris and the club are virtually saying nothing except that he's no longer Swindon Town's coach, and it will all probably come out in the wash. But to me, it's all around money associated with the contract.
Well, when he's appearing on FRI in the next 7 to 10 years to tell his side of the story, we'll know for sure, won't we? There's no real logical order to do this in, so I'm literally going to do them as I've got them written down, because each point will intertwine with each other. So again, I'll allocate it to one person, and then the rest of you jump in as you please. But Mark, much like myself and much like Craig, you don't mind someone being a little bit cynical. So let me pose a little question for you. And this is just me being cynical, the way that you and Craig have brought me up to be this last year or two.
Sorry.
Because I never used to be this way. But a lot of people in the chat, and it's been mentioned a couple of times in the panel tonight as well, is it Sandro Day question comes up. The cynic in me says, now that this announcement's gone and all the fans are in uproar and don't know what's going on, and next 24 to 48 hours we get an announcement and then suddenly everything, the mood that's just tanking like this again, Sandro's gone, and it goes up again.
Quite possibly. It's not common knowledge per se, but the erstwhile rumor is that he isn't in position, and it's been an empty desk for more than a month or so. Whether or not that's actually the case is, I don't think anybody can confirm until the club do. But I think the most telling aspect of that was what Jody said, probably in his last interview and his comments back to Andrew Hawes. I think it was fairly evident from that statement that something's gone on, and that we should refer to the club for the appropriate response. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, if the announcement does come out to say that Sandro's gone, great. But I'm kind of beyond that a bit now. This is a case of Clem needs to speak up. Clem needs to come out and start to talk to the fans and say, look, forget Rob Angus's program notes acknowledging X, Y, and Z. That's just shit as far as I'm concerned. The fact is, you need the owner of the company now to come out and say, look, it all went horribly wrong this season. Hands up. This is what we're going to do to make a difference. The cynic in me, and I hate being this cynical, is, Clem came in and rescued the club. The rose-tinted glasses on everybody. He could do no wrong. We had a fantastic first season. We brought in all these fantastic players under Ben Chorley and the rest of it, and that squad was ripped apart. That summer was awful. We lost Garner. We brought in Lindsay. We thought we were going to get a continuity in terms of some of the playing staff, or at least improvements or enhancements on what we had on those that left, and it all went horribly wrong from that point. We then had all the debacle over the course of the season with the club's social media and the job offers about come and work for us for less than the minimum wage. It just kind of, and the only saving grace was we got to January, and although we lost all of those players and we didn't recruit them, the transfer deadline day was just absolutely horrendous from a Swindon Town fans perspective. We had that saving grace of we've now owned our own stadium and all the rest of it, and you kind of thought, okay, well, things are going to start looking up. We've halved the ground rent. They're going to be paying money into the trust each year. And from that moment, Clem's disappeared. Now, the cynic in me is thinking, he's got what he's wanted. Stop the engagement and the good engagement that he's built up to ensure that the ground purchase has gone ahead. And now he's disappeared. Tell me, without telling, in other words than what I'm saying, that doesn't come across as, the viewpoint that I'm seeing at. You build all that goodwill up. You get what you want, and then you disappear, and then it just sounds like we're penny pinching, and things are going horribly wrong everywhere. It's so in answer to your question, Fife, it's kind of gone beyond the Sandro question now, for want of a better way of framing it. That's old hat. That should have been dealt with 2 or 3 months ago. Maybe we'd all be feeling a little bit more positive now, but he still lingers like a bad smell until somebody confirms that something's been done with it.
Toby says, is Mark suggesting that a mannequin has been sat at Sandro's desk over the last month? Hence, the club didn't announce anything as they presumed it was him.
Well, again, it might as well have been. I mean, the guy's deleted his Twitter account. His LinkedIn profile is, whilst it's still there, is fairly inactive. He's not making any press conferences. I mean, again, if you were going to judge somebody on the role that they're supposed to fulfill, in this case, a technical director, somebody that oversees recruitment, 2 failed managerial appointments, an abomination of a transfer window in terms of letting players go and not adequately replacing them. And you look at all of those points. Well, I mean, that's enough there. And you look at that and say, well, that person is clearly not the right person for the job. I don't know what more does somebody have to do wrong to still officially be in position. If Jody Morris can be click's gone like that. Why is the situation no different for Sandro? What is the, why the silence?
PJ says, fuck up after fuck up all season from board level down to playing level. Being a Swindon fan is fucking depressing.
Mark,
Go on, Craig, you were going to say something.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point he makes about the timing of Clem and how we haven't heard anything as soon as the ground. Sorry, mate. Yeah, okay. I'll come back to that.
No, go on, because it was going to be the one I brought in next anyway. So go on.
No, I was just saying, because even if this was Lee Power, we'd be crying out saying,
100%.
Why isn't he? But at least he did the phone-ins,
the Power Hour
every now and then.
The 100% scripted Power Hours with the BBC.
Yeah, with Hodgetts and everything, as much as a farce as what they were in anyway. But at least he came out, and yet we've heard nothing. And we've been crying out for him to and there's no reason not to. He might be in Australia, but they do have the internet in Australia, don't they? So it's not beyond the realms of possibility that he can, do a short video clip or something like that, and we can post it on our social, on the club's social media channels.
I've just got a quick question there for Craig. I mean, like mid-season, obviously, what do you actually want from him? What can he actually do in mid-season? This is after the transfer windows. What can he do if things aren't going our way? He can't come out halfway through the season and say, "Oh yeah, shit," and have the manager still employed saying, "Oh yeah, sorry lads, sorry, results aren't going our way. We made a fuck up on the manager. We're keeping him in his role at the moment, but just to let you know, we fucked up." Like I
would get my head around personally an acknowledgement that's more than just the program notes that Rob Angus put in the in his program. Clem was the Messiah. He's not beyond reproach, Rich. He is not.
No, we know that. We know he's very we know he's very approachable, and yeah, absolutely.
I said no. I mean, he's not beyond criticism. People think that because he saved the club. And people said the same thing about Lee Power. He saved the club. So what? At least we got a club and all this, or now at least we've got that we own the ground. Well, it's no fucking good if we stay in League Two if there's no leadership from top to bottom. All right, you can argue they've shown a bit of it today by sacking Morris, whether you agree with that or not. But I just want to actually hear from the man. Except for, I want to actually hear from him and acknowledge this farce of a season. I want to know the reasoning behind hiring someone like Sandro. I want to know from Clem what role Rob Angus actually does, because he's Clem's man. He's the CEO of the club. Clem said in his interview before he took over the club that his businesses that he's got around the world, he's got someone there who looks after them in his interest. Well, that person is Rob Angus. All right, you can look. Yeah, Rob Angus has done a good job with the sponsorships, stuff like that. No problem at all. But clearly, he hasn't got a fucking clue when it comes to the football side.
I completely agree, and I think, and this is why I've said on previous pods that I think Rob Angus should probably step back into more of a CFO position, considering where he come from. Obviously, nationwide.
For the decisions, who was responsible for hiring Sandro?
I agree.
Who was responsible? Was it Clem? Was it Rob Angus, or was it Zav Austin, or some other person behind the scenes that we don't know about? That's what I want to know from Clem. And I'm getting angry here because this season has been such a fucking waste. It has been such a fucking waste, and that is because from top to bottom, they fucked this season up. After last season, where basically they had a free hit, you expect to progress, but we fucking haven't. We've regressed. And where that leaves us next season, God only fucking knows. Sorry, mate. You carry on.
I'm with you. Absolutely. I want to know this stuff. But what I'm saying is that he's not going to come out with that halfway through the season. Obviously, at the end of the season, I'm sure he will come out, and I'm sure he will talk about this. I'm sure he will. But
any other season, Rich, I'd agree with you. But this season has been absolute fucking.
I know it has been. It has been. Of course, it has been.
Sorry, can I just before Ben takes them on, I just want to interject on the point back to Rich and say, I get where you're coming from, but surely we should have seen some improvement from a coach that was working with younger players in
Absolutely.
the style
So why
or
didn't we
the
sack him
technique
earlier
of
then?
those players.
Why didn't we sack him earlier then?
Well, the season was already dead, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
Well, exactly.
I mean,
Exactly, and this is my point. But I mean, you still can't come out and say this, even if there's still nothing to play for. You still got to do as best as you can do every week and try and get the players. Because at the end of the day, that even if the plans aren't to keep certain players in the summer, they're going to be playing for contracts, and you know they might be quite high in terms of wages and stuff like that. So, you know, we might actually get money for some players. So who knows? But you still can't come out halfway through the season and say, oh yeah, sorry lads, sorry fans, we fucked up. The manager's still in the role though. So
but we're not talking about halfway season now. We're talking about end of season now, where we are now. I want to see,
I think he will. I think he will, and he should do. And I think what he should do is he should do a fans sort of.
So on that, just to try and get this back in some sort of order again.
Sorry,
as it's being commented on, there is the fans forum where Clem is appearing live on his video link, and he will be saying something. But I'm very much in the camp that I would have expected a statement from him by now.
Yeah.
About this, you know, Rob did his statement, which has basically been trashed apart since, but comment by comment has been trashed apart since.
But also,
just one comment I just want to pull up. Sorry, Liam's just put on saying about Crawley have had their owners come out and issue statements holding their hands up more than Clem has this season. Yeah, where's that led them?
Safety?
Been in relegation. Yeah, I know, just about though, haven't they?
Well, but at the end of the day, you say that we're still playing them twice next season. We're just as good as they are. So there's no point belittling Crawley because we're a shit show.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is
at this point in time, would you not rather be a Crawley fan?
No.
April 22nd, it doesn't matter. It's the same fucking thing.
Now, I'd listed, and the reason I initially asked Craig to pin that one in is because I put Ben's name against this one, and Ben's the only one essentially that's not had a chance to say anything. On the subject of Clem, Ben, because me and you have said this, he's whether or not you feel and you can say your part on it, whether or not you feel he should be coming out and saying something, it is very, very evident there is pressure mounting on him now, isn't there?
There's got to be some reason why he's not come out yet, or there's something planned he's waiting to happen before he comes out and says something, because we've been asking for Clem to speak for quite some time now. Just say something about his intentions of where we are next season, because obviously we've had Morris dropping these little, almost like these little dollops of poison pre-match that hints towards having, like when he mentioned we took the bus to Crewe, that little thing that puts doubts in your mind. That's when we need him to come out and say, right, well, this is our intentions next season. We're planning to do this, and this. And we know they'll be not telling us what sort of budget there's going to be, but just saying, look, this is where we went wrong. We understand this, but properly speak to the fans. And Craig, who's gone off, probably really would. It is right. We do need this. He's absolutely right in saying the fans, the longer there's silence, the more Chinese whispers and rumours flare up, and the more people panic a little bit. He does need to come out. There is a planned fans forum, which you said, which I was just trying to say earlier. So he is planning to speak to the fans. I suspect it will probably be a little bit like the one they had in October, but they need something beforehand. They do need something where he either gives a statement or he does something, or he comes on the supporters club, as he's done many times before, and speaks to Vic. Not BBC, because I don't trust him. Yeah, and just outlining like this season, what's gone on, the thoughts and why it's gone on, why we sat Jody, the answer to the Sandro question, everything, and what he intends to fix it, because there's fundamental changes that need to happen for us to succeed next season. We've done one. We started one. We've done the surprise one, the least one we thought they'd do, but they've done something. They need to follow that up with lots more, and they need to do it early.
Sorry, I love this comment. Sacking Morris wasn't on the roadmap.
But it just, I think once Clem has come out, and I'm sure he will, I am absolutely certain he will, I think everyone just simmers down a little bit, because what Clem has been very good in the past, when he has come out and spoken, everyone's got a bit tetchy, is just sorted everyone's heads out straight, and it will put an end to these rumours that we're actually broke and we've got no money to do this, that, and that. We shouldn't be skint. We shouldn't be skint. Laying it out flat. Most of the external debt has been paid. They keep telling us that. Unless they're lying. Most of the external debt has been paid, and then they do that in the advisory board, and that's what they keep telling us. Unless they're lying to us, is what Fifey keeps saying. Are they lying to us? Unless they're lying.
Now, to clarify, I have never once said liars.
You have, when I mentioned
I have said they are misrepresenting. I have said that I have never actually called out any one person in the senior management and said they are a liar.
No, you said no. You've infused.
I've said I refuse to believe it, but they're not lying.
Is Morris lying, Ben, and stuff like that? No. Unless I'm just flipping it there, unless the advisory board, which consists of the supporters club, the trust, even clubs legends like Trollope and Don, and and the board itself, and they come out and they give us all these nice graphs of where we are and how much money's been paid and how much money's been paid a month and how much is still yet to pay. Unless that's utter shit, apart from the EFL loan, which is interest free, we're pretty much external debt. Most of it is gone. Half the rent. It's transferred to Clem, and he's come out and he said he won't. No, Fifey. He said he will not take a penny out of this club. He will not take a penny out of this club whilst he's here. He will not.
He also said we were aiming for promotion, Ben.
Let me finish. He said we'll not take money out of this club.
Fit the narrative, does
Rob Angus, the former trust vice chair. So for that reason, Rob Angus is a liar. The trust, we can't trust the trust, can we not, Fifey? Can we not trust the trust?
Well, if you're asking me outright, again, I will stress I've never once called Rob Angus a liar, but I think his recent statements have been proven to be factually not 100% accurate.
But
can we trust the trust? Can we trust the trust? That's not my. I mean, if you're saying that, Ben, 2 minutes ago, I was going to introduce you.
He was the trust.
Don't ask me a question and then don't let me answer it, Ben. That's not the point. Now, 2 minutes ago, I was actually going to introduce you to the topic and say, isn't it nice, Ben, that two other people are arguing and not us, but you've decided to throw a spanner in that particular works. In answer to your question, can we trust the trust? You're making the statement, we can't trust the trust because you're not getting the answer you want. I'm not saying we can't trust the trust. I'm saying what I'm seeing, the evidence in front of me, the actual evidence we've got is not necessarily that everything is as prim, proper and rosy that you keep telling me it is.
I'm not telling you it's prim, proper, rosy. Fuck, we just sacked the manager. We're 10th in the league. We've gone through two managers this season. How's everything rosy?
Ben, you've got to separate now Rob Angus from the trust. They're two totally different entities now. Yeah, he used to be the chairman.
What I'm saying,
they're supposed to be two totally different. And so the criticism. Hold on,
Ben, let someone else talk.
Criticism of Rob Angus doesn't necessarily mean that is criticism of the trust. Because he is the CEO at Swindon Town. It's not the same thing. So I think it's really unfair that you say that because Fifey's criticising, or if anyone's criticising Rob Angus, that automatically means it's criticism of the trust. I've got criticisms of the trust. They do good things. There's other things I don't agree that they're as good at.
Everywhere.
Everyone's entitled to that opinion.
You've just criticised his integrity. That's what you said. You said some of the things that Rob Angus says aren't exactly true. So that's criticising his integrity.
I've not criticised his integrity. I've said the statement he made is not 100% factually accurate.
But the summer's yet to happen. His statement is about this summer and what he plans to do.
We heard
this summer's yet to happen.
Okay, so
time to
do we have to go into specific? Do we have to rerun old ground? Do we have to really run over old ground to solve this point? We both know the points we're making, and we can both. Well, I know at least I can bring up the evidence to show because I can just bring up an episode from or 2 weeks ago where we had this exact same conversation, and there was the actual evidence there. We had the statement and then the counterpoint where it proved it wasn't factually true. Now, I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he doesn't have integrity. I'm not calling him a liar. I'm saying the evidence that I have got before me in terms of his statements and what's happened since do not match up like hand in hand. That's not me calling anyone out to be a liar. I'm just saying what we're told and what we're getting is two completely different things.
Okay, well, we'll park that and we'll see what happens later. But what I was just saying, the advisory board, unless it's absolute bollocks and not worth the time it's are saying, this club financially is in actually a pretty good state.
Ben, Fifey, can I ask a question there? Finances, to me, is the massive worry. The club, from what we hear, seem to be pleading poverty.
Mm-hmm.
We're making, what is it, 500k of savings? Well, somebody put up earlier about 9k gates, players that have been sold, money coming in, etc. We've got, I don't know how many sponsors into the club. Well, I'm sure that's not cheap to be a sponsor. So where's that money sitting? Because we are a big enough fan base and money coming into the club that we should be maybe apart from Bradford, although their ticket sales are a different level, we should have the biggest budget to be able to compete. So where is that money going? How much is actually coming in, and where the hell is it going back out? Because the two don't add up to me. Looking at it very simplistically, there seems to be a massive problem with finances for the club, and I unless somebody can enlighten me, I don't understand what's going on.
So that's exactly pretty much what I was trying to say, but better, is that we shouldn't be broke because there's lots of money coming into the club. Second highest gates in the league. We're not cheap. We've got all this sponsorship money coming in, which again, it's got to be a certain amount. Compare it to the other teams. There's not a lot there. The money that Clem invested into the club, he says he's not going to take it out. He's not going to take it out now. It's interest free. There's no date on when it's being repaid. Likely it will be charged when he sells the club, and it will be a debenture, and it will be paid back to him once the club's been sold, because he's not going to take money out of the club now. So that debt is like it's parked, it's gone away, it's owed to him, but it's interest free and it's not coming out of the club for years. So where is the money? Where's it gone? Where's all this money that's come in? Because we had more income coming into the club than most other clubs in this division. Where's it gone?
Well,
that's what I want to know. So I don't think we're as broke as it's been made out.
So it's an interesting point.
I have to agree with Ben there. I do agree with Ben.
Well, why have we been trying to do everything on the fucking cheap this season then?
Because we're trying to be
volunteers.
But
with
this
the volunteers
season,
for sandwiches and
this
things
season,
like that,
we've been
on
paying
the
the debt
social
back.
media side, and also when they advertised that graduate job with all the qualifications, but only offered 18 grand a year, and that which is actually 7 grand a year less than the average graduate starting salary. So if they're really if we're really as cash rich as you think we are, Ben, why are we trying to do everything on the fucking cheap all the time?
Because Clem paid the debenture back. We're paying, the fans paying most of Lee Powell back. Now, Liam from the lower league was furious at Clem because he was angry at the Swindon fans paying back what he thinks Clem should pay. But what Clem has paid is the debenture. It's the 2.5 billion debenture that he paid. That's what he wants the money back on. The rest of it has come out the fans' pocket. Now, the fans are no longer paying that debt because that debt's gone. So that's freed up more money that we should have available to us going forward. So that's where this season's money's gone. It's paying back Lee Power's debt. Next season, it should be freer. We should, in theory, have a lot more money next season. That's why
you said this time last season
comes a bit more free.
You said this time last season. I tell you
No,
what,
but the debt wasn't paid. We all knew the debt still needs to be paid next season.
Debt shouldn't be that much of an issue. It's about
No,
how
it
you
shouldn't.
service
It
the
shouldn't.
debt.
I want to know
It's
where the
about
money's
how you
going.
service the debt, which is the main thing. So, but you know, the proof will be when we do our player recruitment this summer. That'll be whether you're right, Ben, or whether me and Fifey are right. Because that will prove it. If we try and do it on the cheap again like last season, then we know that there's something wrong behind the scenes at the club
where's
financially.
the money gone? Where's the money going? That's all I want to know, because we've got a lot of money coming into the club, because there's clubs like Mansfield who have got good players get half our gates.
Craig, you've also got to understand that obviously we are building, or we're doing £23 million in terms of stadium redevelopments as well. So Clem ain't going to be pulling that all out of his own pocket. He's obviously going to be using some of the money that he has been accumulating over the last. And that's why you always see with teams like, for example, Arsenal, when they did the Emirates up, and what a massive downfall they had in terms of bringing in players. And then also in terms of Spurs just recently as well, having a new stadium as well. And obviously they've gone on a massive downfall themselves. So it's, you know, these things do take a massive fall in terms of whenever we are doing development.
I'm not asking Clem to start pouring millions and millions into the playing budget. I'm not asking him to do an Arsenal or whoever, Man City or whatever. I'm not asking him to do that. I want them to be honest about what they're actually putting into the playing budget. You know, it's something doesn't add up. Stevenage, Mansfield, Northampton, teams that struggle to get even half the gates that we have, and they fucking and they do better than us. You know, it's all right. The recruitment has been poor, but I think the budget has got something to do with it. There's no way we are spending as much as those teams that are above us that seem to be able to get in players that we just can't get. We end up getting the scrapes and the dregs like we did with Brewitt through the after the transfer window closed. That was scraping the barrel, and we ultimately got him because he was cheap. This is the problem. The budget isn't a competitive budget. When that is an absolute meaningless fucking word, competitive.
Yeah, I do agree. I agree.
Every single team in League Two is going to have a competitive budget. A team that's expecting to be in the bottom half is going to have a competitive budget. A team that's pushing for the playoffs is going to have a competitive budget. A team that's traveling, trying to get automatic promotion, it's going to be a competitive budget. It means fuck all. They need to stop saying it, and they need to be honest with us, because they weren't last season. They weren't last season, and they're going to fucking do it again.
So I tell you, it is the most scapegoated word to ever come out from any other bit, from any business, not just Swindon, but with any company that's like advertising a job or anything like that. It's competitive pay, competitive budget and stuff like that. It's just they're trying to sweep it under the carpet and not actually give you the proper amount of money. I'm not expecting them to say what they're thinking of spending the money on, because obviously they don't want to let other clubs know or anything like that. But I think the words that should be coming out from the club is like, the money that we're going to be pouring into getting players in this summer is going to be playoff contention or promotion contention squad, basically.
They have said that they
going for. But we need more season ticket sales, don't we? We need more season ticket sales. Yeah, we have more season ticket holders than Stevenage, Northampton, and apart from Bradford, you know, every other team in the division. Sorry, Mark.
I was just saying it's in the plan that Rob Angus is forcing down our throats. You know, that wonderful little graph that shows that, you know, at the end of this season we'll be in League One. I think it's the season afterwards we'll be in the Championship. So by 2030 we'll be in Europe. Going by that analogy. And Rich, just to come back to your point with regards to the ground redevelopment, there's no cash or plan for that yet. Okay, I think the plan is going to be at least another 8-9 months away. I think that's the trust are gathering questions through that bizarre survey they sent out the other week.
Yeah, I think what I was getting at was obviously that it has come out though. It's not me just plucking numbers out of thin air. They have come out, or somebody has come out and said.
I think the offer is conditional as well, isn't it? That we have to have completed £1 million worth of developments within a 3-year period or something along those lines. I mean,
a lot of it still needs planning permission in terms of the Stratton Bank stand, because there's houses behind it. I think it still needs planning permission, does it not? So absolutely. I'm not saying that it is gonna happen. In fact, actually, I'm the most cynic that I think I'm kind of hoping it doesn't happen very quickly, because at the moment, from the plans that they're apparently doing on the Don Rogers stand, I would lose my seat to a hospitality section. So
you can afford that though.
So hospitality season ticket, Rich.
At risk,
but in all seriousness,
sorry,
though, but in all seriousness, though, that's one of the things that I'm not most looking forward to, because I love my seat. I haven't changed it in such a long time, and I've actually got a very good view of the of where I sit, and I wouldn't change that until I had to be told that I have to change it. So I kind of don't want it to happen. But what I'm trying to say is, though, in terms of the £23 million redevelopments they're going to do, I don't know. I don't know whether or not they're going to confirm it or not. No. Who knows? Do you know what I think that's a wait and see game. Yeah, go on.
So this £100,000, what was it? £100,000 rent a year, is it, or in along those lines, or something like that? The club are saving will go into the trust, and then the club will ask for that money to pay for the development to the Stratton Bank or whatever. So it's kind of like a give and take away. That's how I can see it going, because I'm just concerned about the investors that we're going to be approaching, or maybe haven't yet approached, for the money, which is even more of a concern.
At risk of adding fuel to the fire, because as has become clearly the way this is going, whatever my next topic is, you guys are just organically doing it, arguing amongst yourselves, and then I'm coming in at the end. Well, Nick and Gary wait patiently for their topic to start off. But Craig, I did assign you finances.
Are you sure about that?
I did. And the reason for that, because Ben, I think it was Ben, there's been a lot said in the last 5 or 10 minutes. I think it was Ben said about where if we are in the situation that the more cynical amongst us believe we could be in, where's the money come to sack someone after the contract that we believe Jody Morris had signed? And we know that a good friend of the show, John, he tweeted something earlier, and there's been follow-up that I've been following on his Twitter, that apparently someone at the club in some guise is trying to distance him from them comments and say that he's well off the mark and such like. And he's called them out, and he said, whoever it is that's trying to basically shut me up, contact me directly and tell me the truth then. But the evidence, and that's the keyword I keep coming back to when I get to jump into these things. The evidence we've got, we've suggested, I think Mark's in a similar vein, he's suggested as well, that we fear that the budget may not be even what we've had this season. It could be lower. Ben's suggesting that with the reduced rent and, in his opinion, being virtually debt-free, we should be cash rich and have lots of money available.
I'm not saying we're going to be. I'm saying we should be.
But the facts, Craig, as I understand them, whatever figure we're paying Charlie Austin will be a lot of money. It's fair to say, by League Two standards. You add into that season ticket sales are not going well, and as has already been mentioned, we are getting that. Some people are referring to it as emotional blackmail. To the club needs you to get the season tickets, otherwise the budget won't be what we need it to be. You factor all these things in, and it doesn't paint a good picture.
Well, can I just first go back to what you said about what John's been putting out on Twitter? Now, John's not a shit stirrer, and he's not a wind-up merchant or anything like that. So for him to be put it out and put his neck on the line like that, then it's probably close to the mark. I'm not saying he's 100% true or 100% right, but if he's put that out there, then I would pretty much trust what he's saying. I mean, when it comes to the finance, you know, I said earlier, the way the club's been run this season, it's been quite amateurish, and you know, we're so desperate and penny pinching. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not saying, you know, I know some people are saying, oh, somebody else is running the club behind the scenes because Clem has no money and all this and everything. I don't know that. That's, you know, we're never going to be able to probably prove that until it's too late anyway. But for me, I personally do not believe that that we're in as good a financial situation as what Ben thinks we may be. For the reasons I said earlier about trying to get all volunteers in and stuff like that, and like you say, you know, you make a good point about Charlie Austin and Johnny Williams. You know, we've all seen the figures of what they might or might not be on. I can't imagine it'll be cheap, even for League Two standards. It's going to take up quite a significant portion of the wage budget. How much, I guess we'll probably never know for sure. But
if you factor into it as well, I know we don't know the full story. As far as we understand, we got compensation for Lindsay, so we've not had to pay him off, but we are now paying. We believe, we would assume, we will be paying off Morris and Brand. We paid off, as far as we understand, McDonald, so that he could have a free transfer move to Scotland. These decisions have financial impacts, and I mean, I'm no financial expert and I'm no mathematician, and I've never professed to be knowledgeable in these kind of things. But again, seeing what we can see and with the evidence presented in front of me, it wouldn't surprise me if, when you see that the club are looking to make cost savings, which look, everyone in this day and age is trying to make savings, that's obvious. But for an organisation like a professional football club to be trying to make significant savings like that, it suggests to me that there is a hole there that needs to be filled. And I'm putting 2 and 2 together, potentially getting 7. But I think that we have perhaps overspent this year on the playing budget to achieve something. We failed miserably at it, and how much we've overspent is what we're going to have to recoup, and that is where we're then, in my opinion, potentially in a position where we could struggle next year, because the playing budget would have to be addressed.
Well, it depends on what you mean by overspend, because the financial fair play means we can't overspend unless
I just mean in terms of the club obviously has X amount like money, but we would have assigned X amount to the playing budget, and we've spent more than what we were going to spend X. What we've actually spent is Y.
Yeah, I think so. You know, we've had a high turnover of players. Sort of trying to bring players in and everything. It wouldn't surprise me. Maybe we have spent more than what the club wanted to, but I think the club has just tried to do everything on the cheap. You know, Lindsay, although I disagreed at the time that he was the cheap option, that obviously would have cost less than most of the managers that we were recruiting at the time, that were available at the time that we were linked to. Most of the players that we've brought in, apart from Williams and Austin, they'd have been fairly cheap as well. So maybe the budget hasn't gone up as much as what we thought after the transfer embargo was lifted. Certainly got no value out of that, as we've seen this season. It's one of the worst Swindon teams put together, and it's basically apart from Johnny Williams, it's been totally disassembled from last season. So yeah, I think questions need to be asked when it comes to the finances, but I personally believe that money's tighter than what the club are making out. That's why they've got the begging bowl out for season tickets again, emotionally blackmailing fans, as we've, you know, as you said earlier. So yeah, I think if that was the case, why would they be getting the begging bowl out and everything? And they've said themselves that it will affect the playing budget next season, which doesn't make sense when, like I said, season ticket sales, most of the teams in League Two, apart from Bradford, they probably don't get anywhere near as many season ticket holders as us. So it really doesn't make sense to me.
Sorry, Craig, I just wanted to interject on what you were saying there about the playing budget being affected. The only other thing that could potentially affect the playing budget is obviously they talk about this $500,000 black hole and that it's going to directly affect the playing budget. That seems to be the rhetoric that's coming out. Now, if it's going to affect the playing budget, the only thing that I can think of if we're talking about an overspend, would be if we'd forgotten to maybe add or calculate VAT on agent or transfer fees, because I know we've paid transfer fees out this season, and the repercussions of something like that would fall on the playing budget. Not for 1 minute saying that that's the case or that's what has happened, but it's a consideration.
Well, the way the club's been run, Mark, this season, it wouldn't surprise me. We've gone from calamity to calamity. From how long it's taken us to recruit managers, the loan with the Tottenham guy on transfer deadline day that fell through because the paperwork weren't sorted. It's just one calamity after another. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, because as far as I can tell, transfer fees and agent fees, they do go towards financial fair play. And if they've forgotten to add the VAT onto that, then that could land the club into a lot of trouble. So I wouldn't be surprised, mate, to be perfectly honest. And it's something's not right. And I think maybe the club's panicking behind the scenes, and that's why they're desperate to get season ticket sales in, because cash flow is an issue this time of year for every club. We're not special in that. That's the same for near enough every club in the lower league, that season ticket sales are vital. But it just seems to be that ours is more vital than others, which doesn't make sense because, like I said, only Bradford have more season ticket holders than us.
Well, you could factor into that. Ben made, I think it was Ben made an excellent point earlier about the sponsorships that we've got. Let's not forget there is rumour going round quite wildly on social media as well that one, if not two, of the main sponsors have sort of pulled their deal for next season. So that could be another issue that needs addressing if that is in fact true.
This is the thing, is it's smoke and mirrors, isn't it? We're not getting these stories and these facts, so we're all here surmising and making it up ourselves and having arguments about it. But the club aren't coming out and going, X, Y, Z is happening. We don't need to know the ins and outs. We don't need to know the financial details. We just need a clear, concise statement say this sponsorship deal has been pulled out, it's come to an end or whatever. Let us know. Let's not have an argument about it. Let's have a complete transparency, which they keep talking about, or don't.
Quite. Okay, Gary, let me bring you in then, and something that I'm sure is a much easier topic, and I'm sure that one that won't get everybody just jumping in on each other. But with the news that Jody and Ed have now left, do you expect George to follow?
Good question. We've obviously got the option still, I would imagine.
Surely it's not contractual that option that we're being told he's got is optional of whether Morris is still there or not.
Exactly. So I assume the club could still action that. Whether he decides to take it or not is still up to him. But I mean, where's he going to go? I mean, he was a free transfer. We picked him up. So if he walks now, he's another free transfer, or does he stay for another season with the contract? I mean, Jody Morris, he's not going to follow Jody Morris anyway soon, you wouldn't imagine. He's not going to jump into a job tomorrow. So you'd imagine that if he's going to be either a free transfer or say, I'll take another year deal, I'll stay here and see what happens after that. I'd imagine he could decide that, hey, I'm going to leave. It's too much of a shit show here anyway, like everyone else.
Does anyone else think that this will have a major impact on his decision? No? Okay.
I'd imagine because he's a professional footballer and he wants a contract. He didn't have one this season, like Gary said. So if I was in his shoes, I'd take up the option, unless he knows that he's got other suitors. But
Well, again, PJ clearly more in the know than us. I've heard McEachran isn't even that asked about playing football. Parents are minted and just wanted to play for Jody. There you go. Nick, again, potentially slightly more controversial one for you, but I'm sure will be slightly a bit more relaxed than some of the earlier ones. What's next? We've already seen. I think there was a comment earlier. It'll be far too up the thread now to go back and find it. Artel ? Third time lucky. We've seen people sort of half jokingly suggest on Twitter in the last hour or so. Picaretta maybe got interviewed while he was over here. We know what you'd like, but what do you think?
Yeah, we know. You all know what I would like, and I would love it to happen. Whether it's the right time for Fabrizio, is any time the right time for somebody coming into what seems to be a shitstorm at the moment. Artel, I can't see that happening. Why would he come to us now? If we offered him, he'd say, stick it up your ass. You didn't give it to me last time. Why would I want to come to you now? So I can't see that happening. But whoever they've got lined up, and you would hope they've got somebody lined up, it's got to be got in quickly. And within the next, certainly by the end of this month, we've got to have a manager, a coach, whatever you want to call it, through the doors so we can start some serious planning for next season. And if it goes on any longer than that, yeah, we're going to be stuck in League Two for ever and a day. I agree with what Craig said. So it is critical we get somebody in. We want somebody who's got an understanding of League Two. We want somebody that can get the right players in that want to play for the manager and the club. That's the critical thing. To a degree, there are a number of managers and names being bandied about that have all got experience. Probably could all do a similar job, but it needs an experienced League Two or a manager that understands League Two, understands what's needed to get out of this division going up and not down, and it's got to be done soon. Mm-hmm. But I would love Fabrizio to come and take it over. He knows the club, he knows what's needed, and it needs somebody like that to get the fan base excited, because people have been already talking about it was, Morris, his record was appalling, and if you look at the stats, correct. Before that, Lindsay, for whatever you say about him now, his football was dog shit boring. And I don't care what anybody says, that was just the most boring football you've ever watched. So the people that now are lauding Lindsay, think back to what the football that was put out on the park, because it was fucking terrible. So
just to that point, Nick, I still vividly remember that Gillingham away game that ended 0-0, and we went. Gillingham went down to 10 men after 9
and we
minutes,
did nothing,
and we did fuck all.
Yeah, and it was like that all the way through with him. So, I've held my hands up and said I was quite happy when he was appointed. I thought it was a good appointment. But when he walked, and now he's given us shit through the media, and basically calling us a bunch of very complimentary.
He said that the fans we didn't apparently appreciate them like the Crawley fans have appreciated.
Yeah, because they're wonderful, aren't they? We all know that. So, but yeah. So sorry, just basically, we need somebody in soon and get things moving in the right direction.
Nick, can I just add? Can I just add on to that, Nick? What you said about getting the manager in, and obviously that's very important, because I just want to go to a tweet that Joe from Total Sport released earlier, and this was the quote from today. Work is well underway to find our next manager. This was exactly the same as what they said last season when Garner left, right? And they still hadn't replaced Garner until June the 13th. We didn't sign our first player until June the 15th, which was Tyrese Shade. that was our first player. I think we signed Oscar Massey before that, but that doesn't really count. And we need to get the players in. Now, I know I've gone through this list with you in the WhatsApp chat, but I want to put it out there to the viewers because there's some people who think that you don't sign players until June anyway. Well, that's bollocks because by the start of June, where was it here? Sorry.
Just fill the silence while Craig.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I've got on the wrong. Well, basically, by the middle of June, Bradford had signed 7 players. Walsall had signed 6. Stevenage had signed 5. Newport had signed 5. Crewe signed 4. Carlisle, Rochdale, and Harrogate signed 3. And the rest had mainly signed 1 or 2 players. We hadn't signed any at that point. And then, like I said, the first one was Tyrese Shade on June the 15th. So I'm sorry, but we need to get this this appointment done before the end of May. It needs to be done in the next
But
week.
there's a significant date, Craig, that I think somebody said Clem's form. Is that on the 17th of May? Did somebody say?
I don't know.
Well,
It's not end of the season. It's something around about then.
We're forgetting one thing.
It's around the 17th of May, I think it was, where he's doing this video link in with the I can't remember, it's a fans forum or whatever it is. Now, to me, if I was the owner and I was doing that on the 17th of May with what's gone on, I want the manager in place before that date. Yeah. So I can say, this is where we are. This is our man. This is what we're going to do. This is the plan going forward. Because if he doesn't get a manager in by then, you know, whoever's at that forum and can ask questions should be absolutely have to hammer him with what the bloody hell's going on at our football club. So it's in his power to get that sorted, and it needs sorting for us to move forward.
We've already interviewed, because we interviewed about 3-4 months ago before Morris, so we can still use those interviews. Yeah. So what different is Artel got to say now than he would do 4 months ago? He's going to say exactly the same.
He's going to say, "I want significantly more money now."
So it's just whether you're
of course he is.
It's just a chat, just saying you're still interested, and that's it. Yeah. So we shouldn't have to go through the first, second, third, fourth, fifth interview process and due diligence, as because that's already been done with Artel. Someone else comes through, but we'll do a couple of interviews with them. But some of the candidates we've already interviewed, so we don't need to interview again. We need to get this done quickly.
No, I agree. There's something else more pressing than that. It's a Sandro situation. Get that sorted out, then get a manager in.
Sack him up.
Where does this club go? Are we going down that model again of having a director of football, or are we going to go get a manager who's going to be an old school manager who does the signings? Because you get that sorted out first, then you get your manager in.
Well, that's it. Are we going to have a director of football? But again, Clem needs to come out and say what direction we're going in, because we could have a manager who does all the signings for us. We could.
Fine. That's where they go. Fine.
Yeah. We need to.
But if we do go for a director of football, at least get somebody with some fucking football knowledge, because obviously somebody.
Got to be a football man.
I
reckon there's a chap called Ben Chorley, I hear, is pretty good.
Well, quite. Out of interest, running across all of our socials, Facebook, Twitter, is it up on Instagram as well, Craig, I believe?
Yeah, it's on Instagram, yeah.
We have got polls running, just asking our fellow Town fans what your confidence levels are in the senior management team at Swindon Town at the moment. If I very quickly go to our live Twitter feed and have a look at how the poll's doing there. It's only been up for, an hour or so at the moment. And we will be obviously talking Charlie Austin next. So, guys, I'm sure you're all looking forward to that one. I'm just looking down this. Here we go. So at the moment, we've got the 4 options: total faith in them, trust but some concerns, wavering and worried, or no faith at all. It's had 339 votes at the moment. Thank you very much for everyone who's already contributed. Some people have actually replied written as well. Total faith, 2.9% of the vote. Then in second place, It's very tight. Trust but some concerns, 25.4%. Wavering and worried, 26%. No faith at all, just over 45% of those people who have voted so far. It's
I still think that's a little bit harsh, because we just don't know the full details yet. Until we know the full details, until we have an actual forum or whatever it is with Clem,
I agree.
I think it's very difficult to jump to too many.
Maybe that's
I
why
think
there's no faith, Rich, because we don't know the full
we don't know.
details.
It's true,
Yeah,
it's true.
that's
But at the
why.
end, at the moment, it's just all noise. It's everybody's getting different bits from other different sources who, personally, for me, are irrelevant, because I don't feel as if nobody really genuinely knows anything, and until obviously it comes out from the club, then I it's very easy to assume things, and it's also very easy to put two and two together, but also until we know the actual facts. But I can understand people's concern, and obviously it goes back to the point that obviously Craig was making earlier as well, like obviously why has the ownership not come out and spoken about this before? And so I do sort of get it, but also I think sometimes we have got to, I get it's depressing as a Swindon fan. It is obviously hard, and obviously if people have been supporting this club for as long as we all have been, I think it's very easy to be, headed down in the dumps a little bit. But
well, I mean, Hank says it there. If Sandra gets the boot, people would change their minds on that poll. It's true. Everything changes, but it is. I actually agree with you here, Rich. I think for 45%, well, just over 45% of people to say no faith at all is probably an extremist view, but I wouldn't either hold it against it or argue with them, because I think if we circle right back to one of the things that me and Ben were sort of crossfire debating in amongst all the other chaos in this topic, I said that the statements that are made that are not factually accurate, the statement that was made is the clear and open communication. There is none, and therefore there's no faith in it, because what we're told is not true. In that particular sense. But we did say we were going to circle back and to the Charlie Austin effect. Now let's park Charlie Austin, the player, for a moment, if we can, and ask about Charlie Austin, the influence. There are people suggesting on Twitter, and I don't necessarily personally believe it to be true that a player can have X amount of sway in himself that he can really factor in these decisions on his own. If the senior, I can't remember what the term was used, but the senior playing team, which in this case now would be FBT, Johnny, Williams, Charlie, they went with a consensus of the players to the senior management team and said there were concerns, possibly. But people suggesting that Charlie Austin, because clearly there is a close relationship with Clem, because as we all know, Clem was the one that brought him in. If he is at least directly having an impact himself because of his beliefs, he's been on the bench for a few games, not been starting, possibly not happy, or potentially, we don't know. We're purely speculating based on what people are suggesting themselves. We're just throwing it out there. Is it a concern to anyone, if it's even remotely true, about the amount of player power that there is, or that one person has? And I'll open it up to whoever wants to start there.
With regards to Charlie Austin, 5 yard, obviously we don't know all the ins and outs, but I think I said it on one of the previous pods I was on. At the Wimbledon game, where the players were warming up, and was in the corner where we were, and it was quite interesting watching Austin, because obviously he hadn't played for a bit. He would, been on the bench. He didn't look like a man that wanted to get away and was really pissed off with what was going on with him playing wise. He was obviously warming up. He had a smile on his face. He was having banter. My voice is going to go in it. Sorry. He's having banter with the Swindon fans and the Wimbledon fans. When he come on, he was doing all the right things, and giving that, penalty to Darcy. So he was come across in a very positive manner. What that tells you, I don't know, but it was good to see from that aspect. And I think I'll leave my voice there because it's cracking.
Anyone else want to jump in on Charlie? Again, parking Charlie the player and just about Charlie the influence.
It's all about speculation, really.
Mate, that's all we base this on is speculation.
Yeah, but on looking at it off the field, you look at him, and I see him pre-match as well, and he's not isolating. He's not got a scour on his face. He is having a joke and a laugh with the players. He does look quite positive. I don't think he is busted. When he first joined, he was busted in the gut, and you could see he was directing things from the pitch when he first arrived. I don't see that over the last few weeks. That may be because of the Morris factor, and maybe he might not see eye to him, but I see a slight change in the playing when he's on the field, Austin, than when he first came back. Because he came back with a bit of a bang, and even if he wasn't having much effect on the game itself, you could see he was sort of, directing and being the skipper. And there's less of that for over the last few weeks. So I don't know if that's something to do with Morris, because then he sort of disappeared off the first team altogether. Training wise, I don't know what sort of effect I've had him, because obviously we've not seen him in training. He's obviously, I hope he's having quite a good effect, and he's getting there early, and he's being a good influence on others. I hope so. I think he is. But that's something that I've noticed. But I don't know if anyone else agrees or disagrees.
Feels to me like something's gone on in the dressing room personally. We don't know what or where that's come from, and whether it's Austin's side or Morrison's side. But since the whole dropping him, can't play 2 weeks, can't do games a week, something's not gone right there. There's some falling out somewhere that's happened between the pair. They've had to do. It doesn't look like Austin's unhappy with the club or the rest of the squad. So I think there's something more personal going on there. I don't know whether that's true or not. That's just me surmising that something's gone on, and that's why he's been dropped and not been playing.
I personally think that his ego gets the better of, I think he thinks he's in charge, like sort of thing. Clem brought me in. I don't care what the manager says. I'm the most experienced player in this team. I think his ego does get the better of him sometimes. And sometimes when you have somebody like that in the changing room, it can really affect the mood. And I just, as much as obviously we love Austin being here, is he the right player to be sort of in the changing room at the moment? I'm not so sure. I really don't know, because considering things aren't going great, the person that we brought in to be head coach isn't the most experienced in a head coach role itself. So I find it quite difficult at the moment to really think, is Austin actually the best person to be having in that dressing room at the moment, especially with somebody that's inexperienced as Morris. So it's a tough one. And also not only just on that as well, but also to have the players as well. I mean, obviously Austin's come from the Championship club, obviously I know he's spent time out in Brisbane and etc., but obviously he's come over to us as well now, and it's a tough one. Maybe I just think he thinks he's better than everyone, and I think that's the problem. On the pitch, I don't really have too much concerns with him. I don't have too many issues with him, because as long as he gets service at the end of the day, he's going to score goals. And we've seen that. We saw that. I know it was against Rochdale. I know they were bottom of the team league, but you got to remember they still stuck 4 past us, so it's irrelevant. He still scored 4 goals, and he scored 8 goals in whatever amount of appearances. So it's a tough one to judge him on, and I would never judge him about what his ability is on the pitch in terms of being something in the dressing room, maybe potentially being a leader in the dressing room. I don't know if he's quite the person that we need right now.
And the strange thing in all this is that Jody Morris made him captain.
Well, this is the thing as well, isn't it? Oh, but
It's almost contradictory.
did Gav Gunning not make him captain, though? Oh no, we still had McDonald at that point, didn't we?
Still McDonald then.
Of course we did. Yeah, we did. Oh yeah, fair enough then. Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird one. And then he goes and he benches him for the last 3 games. So
makes you think something's gone on.
But that's why I think Clem's. That's one of the reasons why I think Clem's pulled it. That's why I think he sacked him, because Clem brought Austin in to be playing, to be helping this team, and Morris has gone against him. And I remember, Craig, do you remember when I was talking to you during the watch along at the Tranmere game, and I came on and I said about obviously Morris benching Austin now, whether or not that's going to have an effect on him. With upstairs potentially, because obviously Clem did bring him in at the end of the day and spent a lot of money on him, and whether or not that was going to have an effect. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of the factors as to whether, well, it could be either side, whether or not Clem sacked him or Clem's putting pressure on Morris to play Austin, and Morris is like, no, I'm not doing this, and I'm going to walk. So it's 2 of those sort of issues. And again, it's going back to the fact whether or not he's been sacked or whether or not he walked. It's one of those things that I can't really. There's nothing really to really confirm.
I think we're overplaying probably Austin's influence in this. It's probably a small part of it, but you don't sack your manager based on that you've upset one player in your team, even a player as big as Austin and big as personality as him. Let's face it. I think Morris, as well as they say the proof is in the pudding, and 4 wins in however many games now, 18 games is unacceptable. And as I said earlier, managers have been sacked for less, but also, as we were saying earlier, he was basically digging a hole for himself where either they sack him or he walks. So I think maybe I don't know for sure. Like I said, we don't know whether Charlie had any influence on that, but it probably didn't help. But I think we are overstating that it was, Clem's pissed off because Charlie Austin's not playing, or Charlie Austin's not happy, or anything like that. I think that would be a very small influence into getting him sacked in the first place.
I'm conscious of the time that we've already been, and quite rightly too, because these things need to have their rightful place. But let's move on to Morris's final curtain, should we say? And,
we fucking have to.
Because that's what this episode was supposed to be about, and it's taken 2 hours and 17 minutes to get there.
By the way, we lost a crew.
There wouldn't have been an awful lot I would have said on it, to be honest with you. It would have been probably the shortest FRI episode probably ever.
Well, Rich, you were there. Tell us your experience of the game.
Personally, for me, it was all going swimmingly until after half time. I thought Hepburn Murphy took his goal brilliantly. It was a fucking great goal. Literally took on 3 or 4 players on from the halfway line, and he side-footed it. Keeper no chance, Oh, well, actually, no, I think the keeper probably should have done better, really. But he made it look as if he had no chance. But, yeah. Apart from that, though, there was no spark. There was no nothing, really. I thought the decisions the thing is, we're talking about this game, and it's absolutely redundant now as well, because Morris has actually gone. And I think... But I do think Morris was to blame for Saturday, because he made 2 or 3 changes that did not need to be made. I just think just changing the dynamic of the formation that really didn't need to be made. And we gave away two sloppy goals. First one, I will criticize, and I said this to my mate when we got back to the car on Saturday, and I said, I feel a bit of an idiot now because I said that Solbrun was the most improved player this season, and now he goes and does that. And it was an absolute...
So it's your fault.
So it probably is my fault, to be fair. I jinxed that. It was an absolute shambles of a save. He should have done better. He was lucky to get away with it earlier in the game as well. So, you know, it's just, And the second goal, I could hardly really see it because I think he heel flicked it into the top corner, or he heel flicked it. And of course, it had to be fucking Connor Thomas as well, didn't it? I think that
dreadful midfielder.
But I didn't even realize it was him that scored it until after the game. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Of course it was him. Yeah, it was shambles. It was something that Morris just didn't know need to be done. I'm all blurred now. I don't know why.
You need to clap on the lights is what you need to do.
Yeah, I will do that in a second. Oh, fuck it. I'll do it now.
While he claps on his lights, we'll just see this
every time
that says Darcy too lightweight. Morris changes upset the balance most of the time.
Yeah, it wasn't only Darcy as well, though. It was Kaji. The fact that Kaji was a Morris signing as well tells me everything, because he is absolutely useless. He's fucking shit, and he does it all the time as well. Like, just things that just don't need to be changed. Like, why do it? Like, manage
he won't
the
be doing
game
it anymore.
Well, he won't be, but manage the fucking game. And this is why I'm saying now, because whatever I say now is redundant, because obviously Morris and Brand have gone. So,
yeah.
But you know, just in terms of the actual game itself, absolutely. I would, to be fair, for the first 75 minutes was okay. It was okay, about average, and then after that it was just a shit show. So that's my analysis of that shit show.
Let me go diagonally across on my screen and say, Gary, Rich has said we went from average to a shit show. Is that a fair reflection?
I've seen the goals and I've heard the comments afterwards, but I've seen no more of the game than that. So the fact we were 1-up and we lost it in the last 5 minutes kind of says, yeah, made changes and we became shit. Standard. But like you say, Morris is gone. The tactics are irrelevant. The squad that were playing that day is all irrelevant. We lost in the game. It's dead rubber. So hey, we move on. Let's just get rid of this fucking season. It's horrible.
Mark?
Sorry,
Rich, sorry.
Just to go back to Dale's point there, from what I was told, or from what it came out, was that apparently Morris had Kaji on his radar, but remember it took over 2 weeks to even appoint Jody Morris, and then I think we signed Dylan Kaji on deadline day as well. So I think he was a Morris signing, but again, whether or not it was a Morris signing or a Sandro signing doesn't really matter. They're both in the same Venn diagram. Absolute crap. So,
Mark, I believe you had a fairly stinging assessment, and you kind of referenced it earlier about the timing of the substitutions.
Completely nonsensical. I mean, yes, it was a dead rubber, but I was still, at 1-0 up at that stage of the game, I was expecting us to be able to hold out, because let's be honest, Crewe weren't really offering much until those late substitutions in terms of looking like an attacking threat. Whatever they did do, we seemed to nullify, and both teams generally seemed to nullify each other throughout the game, although we were, for a change, a little bit more creative with the attacking players. And I think we got somewhere in the region of 6 shots, maybe 7 shots on target across the whole game. So, yeah, exactly. So it was quite entertaining. And yes, if we'd have scored that, double crossbarred effort, we wouldn't be sat here talking about a defeat, because I think we'd have picked them off on the break. But, ultimately, I just didn't see the point in taking Jeff Gott off. I didn't see the point in taking, who did Kaji come on for now? I forget what it was, but the changes, they weren't going to be in the game long enough to see the game out. The players that were there, yes, a few of them were looking a bit tired and a bit leggy in their focus and concentration. And the confidence is probably a little bit shaky, but you've got to be able to back these players. They're not going to learn, to not concede late goals unless they're left in that situation and given the boot up the backside to be able to do it. We should have had enough leadership on the pitch to have been able to have seen that game out. That and like Richard quite correctly alluded to, it really was a case of game management. It was more a case of, look, rather than playing the same formation, block it up. Crewe changed quite sensibly to a 4-4-2 to play through our 4-3-3, and that extra player in midfield made all of the difference. We didn't, where the sides were mirrored, we had the best attacking threat. When they made changed that shape tactically, they were creating more chances, and you just knew as soon as that equaliser went in, that it wasn't even a sinking feeling. I thought, well, that's the game gone. Then we're going to lose now. It wasn't a case of, well, can we hold out? It was just a case of, well, we've seen it. We know what's going to happen. I just don't understand why we didn't just stick every player behind that ball, go for the low block, don't let them through the lines easy, and just clear it and lump it up the pitch. Wouldn't have been pretty, but we'd have been talking about 3 points. And that's what frustrated me. It's stuff that we teach to kids. It's stuff that we go through at under 12 and under 13 level. The game management, do the simple things. Don't overplay it. You don't need to be on the attack or look for the space when you're winning the game.
Yeah.
See the game out. Go into the corners. Do all the shit housing. That you're supposed to do. And there was enough experience, even like players that of Jephcott's age. He's played enough games. To have been able to have led from the front in that regard, and you should have been left to do it. It was almost like a token ego. Charlie is 10 minutes to the end, see what you can do, and he hasn't got time to get himself in the game. We weren't playing in a way that would have made him effective anyway. That was it. I mean, am I frustrated? Yeah, of course I am. 4 wins in 18 games is shit, and I don't care what anybody says. That's relegation form. We carry that into next season without making any improvements. We're fucked. So the right call was made. Morris has gone. Whoever made that decision, whether it was Sandro, inverted commas, or whether it was Clem or whatever, doesn't matter. Or whether they walked, it doesn't matter. The right decision has been made. Nothing was changing. Nothing was improving. And regardless of all the spiel about the budget and the rest of it, we had to bite the bullet and make it now. What happens next? Who knows? But as we've all already said, the only thing that really matters, regardless of all the rumours and the rest of it, is who signs on for next season and who we bring in. That's the only thing that's going to tell us what it looks like. And, the next 3 months or so is going to be quite exciting for us over the summer as we see that all come together. Although saying that, it'll be 3 months today where we make our first signing by historically. So 1st of August.
And that'll be the manager.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I was pointed, but I don't think I was any less frustrated or angry than anybody else on this panel. And it's been building for a few weeks, and I'd had enough.
Good evening to Original Spartan, who says, I'm off now, guys, but think positive and stand together. Come on, you Reds. Ben, obviously I was out of commission this weekend. So from your perspective, for taking everything that we now know with Morris and Brown being gone, etc., can you still see players kind of playing for their future even at this stage, or was it all just a bit lethargic? What did I miss?
I think it was just a typical Morris performance, really. I think he kind of knows that he was playing for his job, which was the reason why he wasn't experimenting with the team too much. I agree with most for the first 80 minutes. Without being brilliant, we were comfortable. We could have had a bigger lead, but we were a bit wasteful. Then the last 10 minutes, old bad habits kicked in again. And we started going, it was 10 minutes to go, getting shaky, and we conceded a stupid goal. Really, I think Solbren really does that. Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. And he deserves to get slated for it because it's straight down his throat. You catch them, you catch them. And we were always going to lose after that. We all knew. we all knew. Everyone in the ground knew. The fans knew when the goal picked up, they might as well just gone and Crewe won and just saved us.
Do you know what? Do you know what it was like? It was. I mean, I wasn't at this game, but I did watch it, and it seemed to be identical to the Sutton away game. We go 1-0 up, and then we lose and bottle it in the last 10 minutes. And do you know what? Every single substitution that we made was very much almost identical as to what we did against Sutton, and it just blew the game.
And it may have contributed that we're not learning of bad habits. We're not learning, which may have even contributed to.
But that goes down to the coaching staff as well. Yeah. Should be coaching that into them and stuff like that. And then because I don't think I saw one player improve since Morris has been in charge, and that's what we've all said. It's like, right, okay, the performances aren't, the results aren't going our way, but are the performances, are the players improving and stuff like that? And that's what he was supposed to do. And I didn't see any of that. So I think it was quite right. Whether or not it was a squad or it wasn't a squad, you should be able to improve maybe even one player. And I just did not see that at all.
Yeah, no, well, it was an average. It was an average performance. Crewe weren't much better. They're worse than us, actually, to be quite honest, most of the game. But they beat us. They got the result, and they really shouldn't have. We should have been a good team puts them to bed 3-0. A good team puts them to bed 3-0, and we lost. So
shows how far we are away from good.
The best part about it was given the ex-Oxford matey boy who was giving it all that for 75 minutes of the game. No, we were giving him some stuff.
Oh, we're giving it.
Yeah, and then obviously they go score 2 goals, and then we look a bit fucking stupid then.
Always the way.
Typical Swindon.
Final word on the game to you, Craig?
I don't give a fuck, mate.
Fair enough.
I was 3 hours deep into beer garden weather on Saturday, so I saw the result at 5 o'clock, shrugged my shoulders, and just carried on enjoying my day.
Okay,
fair enough.
A quick word on the women's side as well. They ended their campaign sadly in defeat weekend just gone. We kind of mentioned it the last time you and I were on together, Rich. But I believe it's now, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's 4 games under the new management setup there. 1 draw, 3 defeats, and not scored in any. Or scored one. Scored one in those 4 games. And I believe, because we were talking about this on WhatsApp, I think it was yesterday evening. I believe there had only been 2 games all season prior that, despite the result, that the Swindon Town women had failed to score in, and now they've only scored in 1 in 4.
Right. Yeah,
so the change of style doesn't necessarily seem to be suiting, or it's just taken a bit longer to adapt.
I think.
I still question the fact why they did it. To be fair, I still just cannot get my head around why they chose at that point to make the decision to get rid of the current manager and bring this guy in. It did not make any sense to me. I was at the Portishead game. Nick was there as well, and it was just all waffle. It was just crap. It was just like somebody calling, shouting things that it's just common knowledge to any player and everything like that. And it was just something just didn't seem right. And I think a few people have obviously come out on social media now and expressed their feelings. But I think, I think when we said it the other week, it was more like next season, it's not going to be a localized players that are going to be playing for Swindon. It's going to be them going out to get maybe tier 3 players or something like that. Obviously, they say they're going to start they've got a budget in size to get this STFC women going as well now.
It's a massive shame in my opinion, and I'm sure all of you, but in particular you, Rich, will agree, it's a massive shame after all the good work that's gone in from Swindon Town women themselves, the players becoming accessible, appearing on various different outlets like ourselves, and the positive image that they have had within the club, building on, setting a record attendance, building on that. It's starting to get more games within Swindon, slightly better promotion time and time again. It's such a shame that the season's kind of petered out the way it has.
Yeah, I go back to the game. I think it was the first game of the season I went to. I know Craig went to Larkle, and obviously the uproar from that was just absolutely incredible. Obviously, with Annie's last two goals in the last couple of minutes, but obviously the Bournemouth game for us, where a few of us were there, and they had over 200 people attend that game. And, it was just absolutely fantastic. Obviously, it was a great atmosphere, great day, great result for the girls and everything like that. And they worked really, really hard for that game. And they were against a promotion potential team as well. And obviously, to get their first game, although it was against a Tier 5 side, or a Tier 6 side even, they really, really, was able to break an attendance at the county ground for 700 and whatever it was there. I think that was absolutely brilliant, and that was done without any real, they did a little bit of marketing for it, sort of thing like that. But obviously it was a big game, and obviously it was a good result, and it was an entertaining game as well. Obviously nobody wants to see a landslide of 10-0 ever, but in terms of most of the fans being from Swindon, I think it was just absolutely fantastic, and you could see the girls were absolutely delighted and praised, and it's such a shame. I mean, obviously I can't speak for the girls, sort of thing, but what I can see is that, it just seems like a massive shame that it's come down to this towards the end of the season. Lally's not even been able to,
see it out,
see the season out, like a successful season for him out. Because let's be honest, it was quite successful, and they did better than what they did last season, and they got some absolutely amazing results this season, and obviously getting to the I think it was the third round of the second round of the FA Cup even, and I felt so sorry. I felt so sorry for them.
100%.
I don't think they deserve that, and I think they deserve to see the season out as it was, because there was nothing that was going to be done then. And I think Lally would have had something to be proud of, because he worked really, really hard with that team, and he got them into the position where they obviously had a few games at the county ground this year. And it saddens me to see that as well, and obviously saddens me to see some of the players come out and say the way that they're feeling and everything like that. So
it's interesting that you say about the positive things that have come out of that, and the games being played at the county ground. And one of the reasons that I've really got into the women's side of football this season with Swindon Town women is the type of football that they play. They did play a really good type of football. They showcased that well at the county ground and at Foundation Park when they've played there. And now they're going to a style that's route one, sort of lump it forward and just try and chase onto it, which that's not going to attract people to watch it at the end of the day. One of the reasons I watch it is like Annie's goal, and they try to play it out from the back, but not Lindsay style. They do try and bring it forward, and it's a decent bloody standard, and it's something, it's not Sunday League football. It is a really good standard, but yeah, if they're going to go down this road where it's just going to be like a different style, it's going to be hoofball and everything, that's not going to bring people in to want to watch the women. Woody said this time and time again. It's about winning hearts and minds, and you won't do that if you're going to play a shit style of football. It might get them out of the league. I don't know, but if it does, then great. But you're not going to get the crowds coming out to watch you like they've done this season, I believe.
No, it is a good point, and because again, it's a question. Again, Rich, you have the background knowledge, and it's a question that's obviously suited to the strengths of someone like Woody to ask them. But for me, again, I'm still very much in the infancy of my understanding and learning about the whole sort of women's side of the game, particularly at domestic level. WSL is widely available, and internationals is you hear about it plenty. But if you were to ask me even at this point to sort of name the rest of the division that Swindon are in, I could comfortably name maybe half of them. I wouldn't be able to do them all. And I wouldn't know who was in the league above and below, for example. It takes time to understand it all. So, yes, it would be a fantastic achievement next year if they can push forward and get promoted. But Craig makes a good point. If it's not marketed well, and then second, that the product, again, on the pitch is not something that people are engaged with, it's not going to maintain. And that's, I think this is the point that you were both making so well, is the squad as it is, and the access that the players have given the fans in terms of being able, and just their personal characters. If it gets dismantled too much, it will be to the detriment of what they're trying to achieve, in my opinion. So I hope that's not the case.
Absolutely. I think one thing that you picked up on there as well, like if this project does not work out, then that could really, really ruin the women's side within Swindon Town, because again, there is a lot of, pretty much, I would say probably half, maybe 3/4 of the squad are local players that have obviously come played really good football in a tier 4 team. And there are a lot of good teams in tier 4, whether all through the regions, all different regions. Obviously, you've seen everything that's happened with Newcastle and everything like that. So I think that's quite. So obviously, in terms of that, in terms of another point, what I don't like is that they're sort of starting to do exactly what they're trying to do with the men's team, and appointing somebody that really has no idea what it's like to be a director of football, not only to be a director of football in football, like sort of thing like that, but in women's football, and to not really have any clue, to be suggesting things that really aren't necessary. Like I heard about on another podcast, this person being interviewed saying that they're going to play so many games at Foundation Park next year. They're going to try and play 5 games at the county ground next year, and then they're going to play 4 or 5 games at a neutral venue. Like, why the fuck would you do that? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. If you're either going to have all the games at Foundation Park, or most of the games at Foundation Park, and then 5 games at,
County ground.
At the county ground, and 5 neutral games is not going to attract Swindon fans.
Yeah, you could see, like, from the outside, you can see what the intention would be. It would be to make it accessible to people who, try and get new faces in, attract them in, and then they'll come to Swindon. But you're right. The issue that has been found and what the players have enjoyed is playing in Swindon. So to dangle the carrot of playing in Swindon and to take them out again, is not.
The thing is as well, though, that they want other fans from around who are Swindon fans all around. Well, hang on a minute. People come to Swindon Town to watch the men's team. They travel far and wide, whether or not they're living in the Midlands or whether or not, there are.
You take myself and Ben are in the Midlands. Exactly. Mark's outside Swindon. Nick's outside Swindon.
But Ben comes to the county ground every single week to watch the men's team play. Okay, so he's traveling all those miles up and down to watch the men's team play. Okay, if people really, really interested in watching the women's team play, which I'm hoping that that will soon become the case.
Mhm.
They would travel all that way to come and watch the game. You know, they shouldn't have to do it in neutral venues. I get to a point, it's like they want to try and get like the, you know, people into it and stuff like that. But just go to, if you're local, there's so many local teams around. There's so many local women's teams around. You don't have to go to a Swindon women's game to actually realize that you're going to enjoy the game. So,
Yeah.
you know, I just, if you're interested in it, you'd make the travel. And I don't think they need to do what they're doing.
It's a mad marketing scheme, because if you took the men out to a neutral venue, you're not going to get any
Yeah,
more people
exactly.
to watch
They're
it.
not going to.
You just wouldn't. If you're not going to get the fans.
That was the next point I was going to make. Yeah, absolutely, Gary. Yeah, 100%.
Well, it's certainly, much like the men's team, going to be interesting to see what the future has in store. We hope going into next season that, you know, as part of the integration, we hope that we'll still be able to have as much, if not more, access than we've had this season. We hope to still be able to promote Swindon Town women to the very best of our abilities. There's just one more topic, if you've got time, gents. I know you'd all like to discuss this one, and it's simply, where shall we sing a song for you? As is widely known, I imagine by now, the Trust and Official Supporters Club have teamed together to basically ask fans their opinion on whether, if they're targeting making particular areas within the stadium for people to really make noise, build atmosphere, should they be targeting one area per stand, or should they just focus on building everything in the town end and basically sod the DRS and Arkles? It's an interesting question. We've spoken about the atmosphere plenty, not just this season, but going back further. And for me, as much as we can discuss the topic and discuss the question and the two options that were put forward, I'm not sure if you guys agree, but for me, it's a simple case of, if the product on the pitch is good, the atmosphere will be there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the main point. And I think, you know, if we're watching good football, you know, I mean, I think it does all start with the fans, but also with the players itself. I think it's an equal sort of, you know, 50-50 ratio. You know, you got to give as good as what you get. And if you give as good as you get, then you're going to get the response from the fans, you know, and they're going to be cheering, you know. At the same time, though, you need to have passionate fans that are going to sing players' name and get them, you know, up for the game. That's why we're there. That's why, you know, but at the same time, though, they've got to show their abilities on the pitch and start getting results. And, you know, so it works both ways, but at the same time, and it's no different with any other football club or anything like that. I think to have a singing section in all three stands is just nonsense. It's never going to happen. You have most people in the Arkle stand because it's a family stand. So really, they're just there to obviously watch football, obviously
enjoy the
talk with their friends and enjoy. Yeah, exactly. They're there to enjoy it. But the people that really want to take part in it, that's why that's one of the reasons why the town end is there. So, you know, I don't feel this. I know the Don Rogers stands sometimes get involved themselves as well, but I just think, you know, have one dedicated area, one dedicated section. And I think the most section anyway is where Woody usually stands anyway in the town end, is like T2 or something like that, or whatever it is. You know, and if that's where they've already settled, you know, build on that. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need, you know, and I think once it starts with that, then people around the ground will start singing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, it's one of those things.
And I think, for me, again, it harbours back to, and I think it's actually the point that I've just seen pop up from Dale, which will flash up on the screen. When I first started going to watch Swindon, I was up in, as you're looking at it from the pitch, the top left-hand corner of the Don Rogers stand, that basically opposite the opposition fans.
Yeah.
And it was great. And you kind of started up there, then you moved into the town end kind of when you were ready, if you like, which is kind of what I did. and up until the point where I left Swindon and came up to the Midlands. But when I go back, you do notice it's not the same, but we're in a different era of life now. I do feel, and we've all said about the atmosphere at the county ground. I think there is justification to say the town end is where you expect the atmosphere to build from, because that's, again, like you said, Rich, that's kind of historically where it's been, particularly over the last, say, 10, 15 years or so, going into 20 years. The Don Rogers has potential to do it, but again, if it's not there, and I do get the point, the players feed off the fans feed off the players, but it has to start for me on the pitch. And even then, I'm not always a fan of what goes on pre-match. I know they've tried different things. I don't necessarily think it's always worked. But could I make suggestions? Possibly. Would they work? Possibly not. Same as, any of us can make suggestions, doesn't mean it's going to work. None of us are miracle workers, but I don't think there's a need to sort of focus on everyone's saying there's a bad atmosphere. Let's pick an area, either a stand or a point in each one. I think it's, let's get it right on an even keel in terms of the fans want to achieve this. The players are showing they're trying their best to achieve this, and everything will come together. What do you think, Gary?
Like you said, I think it's a change. We're a different lifetime now. We don't have the ultras and all this sort of terrible things going on. It's a very family-oriented football match. Young kids, families, women, children. Everyone goes there to watch it. You don't want to be singing in noisy sections. You sometimes buy a season ticket because you want to just sit quietly and watch the football. We know the town end has been the main vocal part, but I always say, if you don't concentrate on one area, concentrate on the ground itself, concentrate on making the atmosphere. Firstly, the product on the ground's got to be good. If you get the good pitch and we are winning, and we are, some of the games with the big games over recently, the Sheffield United game, the player game, the atmosphere was just loud from every stand. Everyone was singing. It can happen, but the product has to be right. The players have to be right. You have to have the right people behind. Don't create this like one section of noise. Let's create a whole. Don't divide the fans already by saying, well, you're singers and you're not, and this part sings and that part doesn't.
Exactly that.
To sing.
Exactly,
No, you don't
exactly
sing
that.
there. We always sing. You don't. I hate that. Let's get this whole ground singing. And it doesn't help this year that we're in a terrible league with a terrible away fans as well. It's difficult to get an atmosphere when you got 50 Barrow fans up in the corner.
No disrespect to the Barrow fans, because
no disrespect to Barrow fans, fair play to that travel, yeah, of course. But when you got Oxford or whatever with 1,000 on the bank, and the atmosphere is back and forth, it always feels better.
Absolutely. I think that's you've both made very, very good points there, and are exactly right. We're approaching the end of the bank holiday now. We've got 8 minutes left of it, so I'm gonna thank you guys for sticking out. All the other panelists have disappeared one by one. But thank you to Grace and Michelle, obviously, at the start of the episode for coming on. Thank you two for sticking it out with me to the very end. And thank you to Craig, Ben, Nick, and Mark as well for their contributions over the episode. We have a lot planned for May, and I know Craig mentioned it the other day. I've planned out every episode, and we have a number of guests coming on, a number of different things. And then from June, we start to have a bit more fun. We bring back the quizzes, we bring back the games, and we just start to have a bit of fun and hopefully recharge everyone's batteries ready for the season. But we will be back on Friday. We preview the game on Bank Holiday Monday, and we have a few more regular season episodes left. As always, we thank you. Oh, actually, no. Before I go, one more thing. In an upcoming episode, I know where are we now, Monday? On Friday, Craig did our proper sort of all the Fools panelists for picking their player of the season, most improved, etc. But in our attempt to have a bit more fun, again, we will be doing our alternative STFC awards in a very upcoming episode. So if you've got any fun categories you'd like us to pick winners in, then drop us a message on any of our socials, and we will certainly incorporate those categories. And some of them we will be posting out in due course so that you can have your say on them as well. And we'll be announcing which date that is very, very soon so that you know not to miss it. But again, thank you to everyone who's watched along, joined in the conversation live chat. Thank you to all the panelists tonight. And if you are listening back to this or watching back to this after the event, we thank you very much for your time as well. From me and everyone that's appeared tonight, we'll see you again on Friday. Thank you for joining Fools Rush In. Good night.
Take my hand, take my whole life too, but I can't